All right. Ruth, I understand. I know you are good with this Zoom thing, still trying to figure it out. So I'll make you the co-host so you can help me with handling the meeting and all that stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so let me quickly post the link to the YouTube page here. So that's the link to the YouTube streaming. You can share that with your, on your pages so that people can also join in that direction. And so let's go straight to it while other people are still joining so we can start. We have already spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out things. I hope you all get the link I sent, the YouTube link. Okay, yeah, I think I sent it to everyone, so yeah. All right, thank you once again, everyone, for joining this call. It's my pleasure to be hosting this event. I've always wanted to do this on a bigger scale, and today we are having it. So here with me, I have scholars, I have senior colleagues, I have people that I admire so much join me today to share light on how to assess graduate school funding in the US. And I have here with me Oluwashemu Ajayi. He's joining us from University of Cincinnati. And I also have Bisola Miriam is here with me and also is from the University of Alabama here with me, USA. Thank you, Bisola, for joining. And I have Shoma Ushendo. Shoma, thank you very much for your time to join us here today. Shoma is from Losgar University, and I have Ruth from University of Florida. Thank you very much. And Victor is from University of Alabama. He's also here with us. And Abigail, I hope, is Abigail here? Abigail, can you turn on your camera if you're here with us? I believe Abigail is here with us. But while we are still waiting on her, and I have Oluwatobi Fijabi. Oluwatobi Fijabi is also from University of Alabama. So thank you guys once again. So yes, the meeting is being recorded, and thank you for starting that. And we're going to start straight up. And the protocol, I'll quickly list out some guideline of how this meeting is going to go. All right. So I want to rename myself, but rename. Okay, let me rename myself. Thank you for that reminder, Bisola. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Here we go. Even though the technicality wanted to put a hinge in our way, but I'm glad we could be able to overcome that as quickly as possible. So I'll be listing out the guidelines for the meeting and how we're going to start it. And straight up, I will be doing a brief introduction on what we are doing. And here, today's event is all about graduate school funding in the US. And we'll be talking about the process of getting funding in the US, what you need to know, and we'll be sharing a lot of experience. We have scholars who have gotten funding in different ways. So we'll be leveraging on the experience. We'll be talking about the different, perspectives to getting funding in the US. And that will be what we'll be doing here today. Okay. So I'll do a brief presentation, as I said, on that. And let me quickly list out the guidelines for the meeting. So please ensure your environment is not noisy, and ensure you turn on your camera if possible, if you're in a good position to do that. And also be polite in the chat box when you are interacting or you want to ask questions. And also keep your question, we'll get to that section when you want to ask question, keep it as simple as possible, as straight to the point. And questions that will be allowed are basically questions that relates to the topic of today. Any other question will not be treated, okay? So we're only considering those questions that are today topic related. So, and also we'll be taking questions from our colleagues, friends who are joining us on YouTube. We also be taking questions from them, so that they can also feel among us, basically. So I'll be doing a brief presentation, and that presentation is just to highlight the basics of searching for graduate school funding in the US. All right, so the basics of searching for graduate school funding, what you need to know, what you need to do, where to start from, what are the various types of funding available, how do you search for schools that has funding, and how do you apply for funding? What makes a strong application? Those are the things that I'll quickly run through. And basically, I'm not going to assume that people here have an idea of how to go about it, but I'm going to start from the basics. I'm going to assume that everyone here are novice. They don't know what to do yet, so they need to understand the basics of this. And so the main thing to note first is, what are the required materials? What are the required documents I need to have in order to start my applications? So before you start your graduate school application, you need to know that these are the basic documents that you need. It can vary, it might be more, it might be other additional documents based on the school you're applying to, but they are basic documents. And those basic documents are what I've listed here. You need your transcript, which is very important. You need to have your academic CV. You need to start working on your statement of purpose. You need recommenders, at least I think 3 recommenders from the academia, and from also, if you're in the industry, you might also need to get recommendation from industry, right? So, and also you need your passport. Some people call it international passport, but passport is passport. There's nothing like international passport. So, but you need your passport irrespective of the country you are from. You will need your passport to, when you get the funding, you need to travel. You must have everything ready, so you don't have to be delayed in any way in terms of getting your visa application and all that. And in most cases, you might also need to write tests, GRE, TOEFL, GMAT, and there is another one, Duolingo, what is called right now. So these are the tests that are possibly you need to write, and you need to check based on the school you're applying to see which of these tests and applies to that program of your interest. So, and application fee, of course, some schools do waiver. You can also request for application fee waiver, but you have it at the back of your mind that if you are going to apply to multiple schools, you are likely not going to get waiver for all those schools. You might get for some. There are some schools that runs application free week, like the University of Alabama. They did that sometimes in October this year. So they do it every year, basically, So if you are going to apply, you might wait for that time to get the free waiver, or you can make a request for a waiver in advance, and you possibly can get that. So those are the things that you need to have at the back of your mind. And then you start to think about, okay, what is the program of my interest? What type of program do I want to apply to? Is it related to my undergrad? Is this something totally different field that I want to venture into? So those are the things that you need to start considering. And based on your decision of which program you want to go, it can be flexible. You might have options, different programs that interest you. And then you can start looking at, okay, what schools can I apply to? Does these schools have funding for this program? How do I search for these schools? How can I get information about the type of funding that they have? And so those are the basic things that you need to know. So once you identify the program of your interest and you start to look out for schools, And then, you also at the end of it all, when you get funding, it's not going to cover your visa processing, is not going to cover your flight tickets. So you need to have that at the back of your mind, that you will need money to process your visa, pay for your, different money that you need to pay to apply for visa, and also your flight. At the end of the day, you need to book a flight to travel. So those are the things that you need to have at the back of your mind that you have to do. All right. So then you need to, this is just an action that you need to be proactive, trying to think ahead, have this at the back of your mind, not when you're about to start your application, you start to think about what do I need to do, where do I need to start, and all that. But when you prepare ahead of time, even as an undergrad, you can start to think about this thing, have it, list it out, and start looking out for schools even before you graduate. So that is being proactive, basically. Okay, so yeah, I've started the live transcripts. All right, so thank you for that reminder. And so now when we talk about funding in the USA, there are different types of funding, but some are very common. All right, so in the USA, it's quite unique. It's different from most other part of the world. Basically, in the USA, there are three types of funding that you can find, but for international students, most of the time, majority, what they got is graduate assistantship. And graduate assistantship, we also have fellowships, we have scholarships, and but graduate assistantship is the major one. And now we need to go into details what graduate assistantship is all about. In graduate assistantship, we have the teaching assistantship, we have the research assistantship, and quite uncommon, we have the administrative assistants. So, but the teaching assistantship and research assistantship are the most common one. So for teaching assistant, when you are admitted, mostly it comes with an offer from the department for teaching assistants, and research assistantship usually comes from a faculty. So when you reach out to a faculty, they have funding or they are working on a research. So they have they need students so that they can give you a research assistantship in that case. So now the thing there is that if you are very active on social media like Twitter, LinkedIn, and all that, most time you will see some professors say, I'm looking for students in social field to work in social area and stuff like that. Those are research opportunities, research assistantship opportunities. So when you apply and you get it, you are going to be working with that professor as a research assistant, and you'll be paid every month for doing that, while also your tuition fees will also be waived, and you have your health insurance covered and all that. So that the same thing applies with teaching assistantship. But teaching assistantship usually comes from the department directly. And these things are always stated on the website that, oh, if you're admitted, you'll be considered for funding, and those funding are usually teaching assistantship. And the administrative assistantship is usually quite uncommon, and it doesn't have, it is not related to teaching or research per se, but it might be more of office work, some administrative work in some offices. You might have an opportunity to get that. And usually it doesn't come directly while you are applying for that, for admission. It's usually open to students that are already in the school. So these are more like an internal offers that usually pop up sometimes. So, but as an international student applying for admission and all that, teaching assistantship and research assistantship are the common ones you can usually find around. Okay, so now let's move on to the fellowship part now. So for fellowship, there are different types of fellowship, and usually the common one are the graduate council fellowship. The graduate council fellowship usually comes from the graduate school. The graduate school usually have graduate council fellowships, and the nomination are from department. So each department usually nominates their candidate for the fellowship. New applicant for admission can be nominated based on the strength of your profile or your application. You can be nominated for Graduate Council Fellowship. And there is the NSF. The NSF is the National Science Foundation Fellowships. And this fellowship are usually, you can be nominated for it or recommended for it based on your application. So we also have the AAUW, I think is something related to women. It's a women-related fellowship. I can't remember the full name right now. And also it is usually for women in academia. So, and there are also other type of fellowship like that is specific to a particular program. So you can always check out to see which fellowship is available for you and all that. But majorly, most of these fellowship are based on recommendation, while some you can apply for it directly yourself. And if you are given, you can, it will be a good thing for you in terms of furthering your education in the USA. So that's for fellowship. And then the last one is the scholarship. The scholarships are not quite common. As I said, remember from the beginning, I said the common ones are usually graduate assistantship, but there are still scholarship that you can explore in the US. And one of them is the Knight Hennessy Scholarship in the University of Stanford University. And there's Fulbright Scholarship, there is Sports Scholarship. Here in the University of Alabama, I know a lot of guys, international students that got into the school based on sports scholarship, right? Sports scholarship is a huge thing in the US. Probably you know how to play basketball, you know how to run marathon, you know how to play some a lot of other sports. You can get into the universities funding, based on those type of skills. And there are also special talent scholarships, which are not usually well spoken of, but they are all there. These are opportunities, and there are different other forms of scholarship, basically. But what we'll be looking at here today, based on scholars' experience, they will tell us the type of scholarship they have gotten. And mind you, based on other scholarship, there are scholarships that are offered by countries. Maybe your home country can also have scholarship they give to students to study in the USA. So that might be something you will need to also look at. We from scholars' experience, we get to have an better understanding of these different ways to explore these scholarships. So now, searching for schools. This is a critical and very important part of the process. Searching for schools. What are the criteria you should use to search for schools? There are different links, web pages where you can see the schools based on ranking, based on some different criteria. So I have listed here a couple of 3 links that can give you an idea of what these schools are. So 4icu.org is a website that gives you the different ranking of schools in US, in any part of the world. You will see their ranking, you will see how they are being ranked. And US News also gives you an idea of overall criteria, performance of different schools based on different yardstick and all that. Then we have the R1 universities. Because you are applying to grad school, most of the time you want to do research, you are applying for PhD, you want to do research, or you're applying for masters. But majorly R1 universities are universities that are research intense universities. They have a lot of research activities, and where there is a lot of research activities, they're bound to be funding, basically. So that's how it works. The more research work, the more funding that is available, and the more students that they will need to work on this research. So our universities are, majorly research intense universities, and that can give you an idea of which schools you should be applying for. If you are looking for funding, you should be targeting R1 universities, basically. So now, when you go to these universities, you need to go to the department. Every departmental web page have a funding section where they will show you, okay, this is the type of funding we have. We have graduate assistantship, we have teaching, graduate assistantship, basically, which involve teaching assistantship and research assistantship. So based on what you found there, you can have an understanding of the type of funding they have and then how to go about it. Then if you find out about the funding, and most will specify that, okay, you need to, if you are looking for research assistantship, it is based on mutual relationship between a student and a faculty. So in that case, you need to reach out to a faculty, you need to send code emails and all that. So we'll talk about that in details as we proceed. So, so applying for funding, you have graduate assistantship, admission with fundings. There are some departments or programs that will not give you admission if they are not going to give you funding. They will specifically put it there. So once you are getting admission, it will come with funding, all right? So, and there are other ones that will give you an offer for admission and then ask you to apply for funding. They can send you an application form if you are interested in teaching assistantship position. You can fill it, you can fill the form and you'll be considered for that. And also the code emailing part of it is when you reach out to a faculty, you go through their profile, you see what they are working on, their research interests, their publications, and you are interested in that, then you reach out to them and express your interest to work with them. And if they give you an audience, they give you attention and they are interested to work with you, you can, once they get interest in you and they give you an offer to work with them, you know that you have gotten your funding. So that's one way to go about it. And also for the departmental or faculty recommendation, that one is based on fellowship most of the time. The department can recommend you for fellowship, they can recommend you for external funding opportunities, and the faculty can also recommend you for an external funding opportunity. For instance, if there's a faculty that is interested in working with you and he doesn't have funding, he can recommend a funding opportunity for you to apply. And that can also be a way for you to get funding. And there are other direct scholarships you can apply to. As I mentioned earlier on, there is the Knight Hennessy Scholarship, the Fulbright Scholarship, the Sports Scholarship, and all those. Those are the type of direct scholarship you can apply without recommendation from anyone. Basically, from that university, you just need to apply. And if you are given, then you can use that to fund your education. So that is basically it, and that's where I'll be stopping the presentation, and we go straight to the scholars sharing their experience, providing more insights, and after that, we'll be taking questions and answers. We'll be going into different other aspects, and we elaborate more on as we move on. So thank you very much for your audience, and stop it for here now. Thank you. All right, so guys, so we'll be going straight to experience, scholars experience, very important. I'll be calling on the scholars one after the other, and they will be sharing their experience with us. And if you have questions, please, you can, as we go on, you can raise your hand, just use the icon there to raise your hand, and once the question time starts, I will ask you to unmute yourself and ask your question. But at the meantime, I will start with the scholars to start, to share their experience with us and provide more insights about the discussion of today. And the first person I'll be calling on, I will call on Oluwaseun Ajayi, to come on board. Seun, thank you very much for joining this call. You can unmute yourself now, and can you do that, or do I need to? Okay, I think, okay, go now.
All right, thank you so much, Sunday, for this space that you created so that we can share our experience for people who are interested in graduate scholarship in the United States. Sorry, don't mind my voice. I think I have cold, so sometimes I might want to blow. All right, so My name is Oluwaseun Ajayi. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Cincinnati. I'm in the Department of Biological Sciences, and my research is at the interface of vector control, insect physiology, and transcriptomics. So basically, that's what I'm doing. And so we should share our experience. So, my first interaction, or let me say uh, my first knowledge about United States came after I finished my undergrad. And the reason why I was able to get informed earlier enough is because, someone graduated 2 years ahead of me. And when I was in service here, okay, before I went to service here, he already got a master's funding to the United States. So that was my first knowledge about United States. And since then, uh, I didn't work on it then because I was afraid of taking the GRE. So that was how the chapter actually closed. Then when I came back from my service here, I returned back to my institution. I started as a GA, and the urge to go to United States also came because at that point in time, uh, the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University reached out to our vice chancellor that they need students in their university, and I also faced another obstacle, GRE, because at that point in time, I was not willing to take the GRE. And the reason is not far-fetched. I'm not going to be sharing it here because this is going to YouTube and the person might hear about it. So I'm not going to go into that details. So, but I was afraid of GRE, and that was how it ended. So I went for my master's program elsewhere. And when I came back in 2016, I tried every scholarship. I tried Japan, I tried Brazil. I don't know. I don't know the country I didn't try. I tried United Kingdom. I went to Abuja at some point. I was there 7 a.m. in the morning. I left there 11:30 p.m. And the federal government did what they want to do. And that was it. And to the point that Japanese Mess was my last option. I got to the interview stage. That was the final stage. And, based on my own assessment, I think I did pretty okay, maybe 8.5 over 10. If I'm keeping it kind of uh, like kind of average. So, but at the end of the day, I got a letter that was picked. So that this is how it worked. They sent emails to about 6 people, and they sent bulk email to 6 people, 6 email addresses with 6 letters. So I checked the letters. My letter was not there, but my email was there. So the confusion started from there. So I reached out to the embassy, and they were like, "Oh, it was a mistake." The person's that has his own letter there. I mean, the person that has his own letter there, his own email was not there. I was like, "What is happening?" And they said it was a mistake. They actually approved for 10 people, but at this point in time, they have been able to clear for 6. That I should pray. The moment he mentioned I should pray, anything Nigeria that requires prayer, just take your minds off it. So the moment he said I should pray, I just took my minds off it, and I just called my friend. My friend is in Auburn, Alabama today. We also started this US. No, he did his own GRE September while I was still trying to, try some other things. I'm not going to do this GRE. I was so stubborn about it. So at the end of the day, I just called my friend. Please, I'm going to send you my money now. Help me apply for GRE. And that was it. And that was what started the journey. I took my exam December 1st. And the fear that I had for 3 good years, the fear started, oh my God. All right. All right. So the fear started from 2014, till that 2017. For good 3 years, I was held down by this fear. And on December 1st, I got my breakthrough. And that was it. So I reached out to my boss, who is currently my advisor now, on the 13th of December. I mean, most applications have closed. So my own case is kind of very special. Most applications have closed by that time. So, and I applied January 13, I mean, January 11, when, typically January 1st is the deadline for my university. And that was my journey. And that's how I find myself in the United States. I think I've shared enough of story now. So yeah, so the intentional things I did was, I wrote GRE, just like I said, I wrote GRE. I already had an IELTS exam prior to that time. And while I was doing my MSc, I wrote IELTS test then. Then I reached out, cold email, Sunday mentioned cold email. So I reached out to my advisor, and one of the things I did was to align my interest with what he was doing. So he was interested in someone who has worked on mosquito before, and that was what I worked with during my undergraduate level. So there was kind of an alignment of interest. So, and I started the application, and the most important thing I did was to wait on him to give me go ahead, before I started applying. I know a lot of times people try to apply, without getting a go ahead. It's good. Sometimes, it saves you a lot of money, if you can. I mean, I only applied to 2 schools, and the funniest thing is that uh, the other school that I also applied to that I didn't get into, I didn't get admission into, was a school that I was not promised funding. So you can see sometimes how these things work. So I got into UC, and that's another story for another day. So those are the things I did, wrote GRE, code email, started my application, reached out for signing my transcript, and I don't know. Then maybe as we proceed, any other thing that comes to my mind, I will be able to share. Thank you so much once again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ajayi, for that wonderful experience of yours. I'll call on Shoma. Shoma, please, can you go ahead and share your experience with us?
Thank you so much, Sunday. I'm very glad to be here. So I started my scholarship journey in 2019, but I never applied for US or any US school. So it was just the major scholarship like Commonwealth, MasterCard, and the rest. So most times it's either I get into the next step, be on a reserved list, but I never got in. And it was at that point I knew that I needed to switch my gears. But like I was skeptical about applying to US schools because of the long application seasons, the test you are going to write, the application fees, like trying to also send emails to supervisors and the rest. But fortunately for me, at that period, I got into a community. I got into Education USA Abuja, so to say. And I cannot, I would not really overemphasize the importance of being in a community when you want to apply to scholarship. Like it helps a lot. And periods because you are going to receive a lot of rejections that you are at the verge of like quitting or trying to like pick another career for yourself. I was there. I was working. I was earning a good money at some place, but it was still not enough because that is not what I wanted, and this is what I want. And anybody I try to complain to, they'll be like, "Well, you're working. You're earning this amount. Like, why not just live your life?" But it's not my passion, and I needed to grow beyond that, so to say. So like being in a community like Education USA helped me like a lot. Like even when you're tired, you don't have to give up because you are your people. By the time you don't even think of giving up because you see a lot of people with so much energy and vibe. It's enough for you to like even add on to like do a lot of like move on with what you are doing. And so writing necessary tests like GRE and TOEFL was very important, like for anybody who was an Education USA member. And so I wrote my GRE and I had really great scores. And I think at some point it got into my head because I had like 334 out of 340. And so I started applying for scholarship. So it was in between applying for scholarship in the US that I just had this conclusion that for like there is a school for everybody in the United States, regardless of your requirement. There is a school for everybody. If you don't have a publication, if you don't have like the necessity, if your GPA is not high, there is a school for you. You just need to like calm down and do your research on your own. Nobody would spoon feed you. Like you would hear about a lot of experiences, so to say, but you have to create your own experiences too. Like there's a school for everybody. And so I had really great scores in my GRE, but then like there were schools that were like, we don't need your GRE scores. GRE scores is optional. It doesn't make sense. Like, but then I still saw some schools that are like, GRE strongly recommended. Like in my own case, like so to say, like I would apply to schools that prioritize like GRE, so to say, not because I don't have other requirement like publication, peer review publication and all of that, but because like I'm in between two schools that need what I have, like they really need what I have. And like there are a lot of people that will have publications. There are a lot of people that can write really great email or code email into professors, so to say. And that like I believe that okay, this course should or this particular course should stand me out. So I you would like on stating that like you would see schools that most like in their requirement, there's like this basic requirement, like Sunday talked about, basic requirement for every application process. But like you need to find out schools that prioritize, what do they prioritize more in the application process? You need to speak to past students about it. You need to do your own research. You need to look at like even their success rates, so to say, because for all of these basic requirements, there is a requirement that this school prioritize, and you really need to like work hard in that. Some schools like don't even care about maybe your peer review publications and all of that. Like they'll tell you it's an added advantage, so to say, but they don't really. So like you need to like look for a school that you know that this is what you have. Like you either walk backward towards it or like forward towards it. But mine was like, okay, I had this score, I had other requirements. And then I did apply to some schools that would say like they needed like they had all the requirements, so to say, but like they wanted someone who had like a minimum of 2 years research experience, so to say. But I didn't have, I was fresh out of college and I didn't have like that amount of research experience. And so like no matter what I do, they won't grant me admission, they won't give me funding because I don't have the number of years of research experience that they needed. And so like most schools, like if I apply to like if I apply to like seven schools, so to say, and about 3 of them were the schools that needed GRE or like prioritized GRE. And in the end, I got into the schools that needed the GRE, and those ones that did not prioritize GRE, I didn't get into them, like so to say. So, and my experience with broadcast was that I had applied for cell and developmental biology, so to say. So I believe every scholar had like a specific story or what is so spectacular or peculiar to them, so to say. So mine was that I applied to Rutgers University, the main campus in Brunswick, and I applied to cell and developmental biology. And so that program needed someone who had minimum of 2 years research experience. And then I'm competing with people that had like about 10 years, 5 years of research experience in other countries, like so to say. And I believe that like you don't need a soothsayer to tell you that they are going to pick those that have about that 5 years, 10 years of research experience, or those that have done their masters, like so to say. And now I just had like an undergraduate degree. It was a good program, but I didn't get in. But then like a different department in that same broadcast saw my application and reached out to me. I was like, we want someone, or we admit people mostly with like great GRE scores or IGRE scores, and I believe that you can
eres el peor porque eres el que más ha venido aquí
and we believe you can get into this program.
y
And
te
so when they
dedicas
reached
a
out
hablar
to
de mi
me
país,
and
lo que necesito o dejo de decir.
they asked me
¡Qué
to,
asco que das! ¡Qué asco que da este cerdo, eh!
and so they asked me to like submit, like I don't need to pay for an application fee, I don't need to do anything extra, I just need to resubmit a different SOP, like so to say. And that was how I got into PhD computational biology and computational and integrative biology in same Rutgers University, but like not the program I initially applied to and not the program I wanted to like initially, but it's something similar. And it was something I later even like liked more, like compared to the program I initially wanted to apply to. And even when I had other offers, like it was still the same program I had picked first, like so to say. And basically that is all my experience. That the only take home I'm giving you guys here is that there is a school for you, irrespective of your requirements, irrespective of what you have. Like you just need to do your own research and all of that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shoma. Your experience is quite unique and interesting. I truly, I must say that. And so let's move on. I'll quickly call on, let me call on Victor. Victor, it looks like your space is quite dark. I don't know, but yeah, if you can maybe change your direction or lighten up your space so we can see your face clear. But it's
Okay,
okay.
I'll just
Yeah, you can go on and share your
add some
experience.
lights.
Yeah, please go on. Thank you.
Okay, is it better now?
Oh yeah, that's better. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victor. I'm a master's student at the University of Alabama in the Department of English. So my experience, I think I started the grad school process in 2015 as an undergraduate. As an undergraduate, my dad had always hammered it in my head that you must graduate with at least a 2-1 so that you can apply for scholarships outside the country. So I got to know about scholarship because it was always like these things my dad would say, oh, graduate a good grade so you can apply for scholarships, masters or PhD abroad. So I started in 2015 as an undergraduate. I was looking through schools in the UK and I was just looking through and checking the requirements just to get myself prepared. So I graduated in 2016 and I started applying. I applied to MasterCard, applied to schools in the UK. I got admission, but no funding. And like Dr. Ajayi, I also had my share experience of the FSB Commonwealth Scholarship in Abuja, where we went there from morning till evening and even slept at the venue with no results. And like Dr. Ajayi, I didn't like the US because of GRE, because I said I was not going to write the GRE because maybe for obvious reasons or for personal reasons, I didn't want to write the GRE. So I was looking at US, Canada, and France. So in 2016, I went for youth service. I kept applying, rejections from MasterCard and some other popular scholarships. Then after my youth service, I still continued to apply and still got rejection, but I started my master's at the University of Ibadan, irrespective. So after my master's, COVID happened. So after COVID, I resumed my application again, hoping that I would apply for a PhD. But at that point, the results for masters were not out. So I had to settle for a second master's with another specialization. Because I have a background in English, I was thinking that, okay, most scholarship I see are for STEM, sciences, and all that, that there are little or no scholarships or opportunities for those in the arts, especially English and other arts courses. But I was disappointed because I started looking through US. I had already resolved that, okay, if it means writing the GRE, maybe I would consider writing the GRE. Or if it means writing the TOEFL text or IELTS, I would consider writing that test. So I wrote the IELTS and had that, but I had not written the TOEFL. So because of COVID, I realized that most schools were waiving the GRE and were not requesting for GRE. So I started looking out for schools. And to my utmost surprise, I realized that in the US, there are actually more opportunities for those who studied my course than I had expected. So I started looking out for schools. I started with a Google search and I filtered. I think there's a place on Google where you can filter the specialization, whether English, the course or something. So it will bring out a list of schools that offer those courses. So after doing that filter, I started checking these schools one after the other. And I was looking through the departments page and faculty page. So I realized that some schools will say, okay, we have graduate assistantship for all admitted students, which means that once you're admitted, you are guaranteed funding. So the onus now lies on you getting the admission. So I started looking out for these schools and I wrote cold emails to professors. Because it was during COVID, I got a lot of responses and back and forth happened. So for University of Alabama, I applied to university. I started my communication with the program coordinator in April 2021. So I reached out to him, I asked specific questions, I asked about IELTS and all. I told him I had IELTS, but he said it was not required by the University of Alabama, so it's of no use. And there was no GRE. So I reached out to the program coordinator. We had a lot of back and forth. However, it was not just University of Alabama I was talking to. In a day, I sent at least 3 cold emails every day from April to July. I sent at least 3 cold emails every day. At some point, like Chioma said, you'd want to give up too because you send cold emails, you get rejection. Oh, there's no space. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, a lot of excuses. But I think one thing that kept pushing was that at some point I called one of my university lecturers who was part of my recommenders. So I told her that, see, I'm tired of this thing. I just told her I'm tired of this thing. I don't think I already have my master's in UI. Maybe I'll just continue to a PhD after COVID or anything. So she told me, I don't know if she was joking or she meant it. She said, you know that when you start getting rejection often, it means that you are closer to getting it. That's when that rejection comes or when you feel you are tired or you don't want to do this thing again. That means you are closer to getting it. Probably she said it to make me feel good. Or maybe she just said it randomly or she meant it. I didn't know. So when she said that, I went back home that day and I just saw that, I just thought of something. So I shifted my research focus to be on COVID. I was in English. So I started thinking of something. What could I do that was related to COVID, currency of research and all that? So I said, okay, I'll look at the discourse of COVID and just analyze discussion around COVID and all that. So I made it like the center of my statement of purpose. So I started sending fresh cold emails to other professors and other schools I had not sent emails to before. But I still kept communication with my professor at the University of Alabama. So we're talking and talking and talking. And I think as of June, before I eventually submitted my application, I also reached out to the second program coordinator in the same university. So there was a Zoom meeting. There are 2 program coordinators for my department. So there was a Zoom meeting in June. And the Zoom meeting lasted for about 3 hours where I discussed my interests, past research experience, and also asked the format with which they think a good statement of purpose should look like. And at that point, I also asked them that, what are my chances considering my profile? And I also asked for an application fee waiver during that Zoom meeting. I think that Zoom meeting was just the go ahead I needed to say, okay, I'll apply for this school because I got positive responses and I felt that, okay, these people would, it was inviting because the fee waiver was granted. They told me, okay, this is what we want to see in a statement of purpose. So it was like an expo to writing statement of purpose to UA. So they answered all the questions and it lasted for about 3 hours. And after the Zoom meeting, I said, okay, I would apply for UA because I got like a confirmation that, okay, go ahead and apply and all that. So I applied to UA and I got UA. But I didn't only apply to UA, I only applied to West Virginia University, which I got also. But I think the whole story about it is, in as much as you have the qualification, I think cold email also goes a long way, and also getting like a confirmation from either the program or the professors so that you won't just waste money and just put in application. However, some schools do not require you to send cold emails. If you have a strong profile, you can send cold emails or you can just apply without sending cold emails. In fact, my program does not require you to send emails to the professors. You can just apply like that, and based on your profile, they evaluate it and admit or reject or make their decision based on that. So I feel my story is a very scattered one because I was here and there. I applied to France, I applied to Canada, I applied to US, I applied to UK. I usually get UK because I get the admission in UK, but there's no funding. For France, it was because I couldn't speak French. I almost got an admission at the final stage, but because I could not speak French, they needed someone that had a good proficiency in French. Then for US, it was because of GRE. That was why I didn't apply, but because of COVID, I ended up not writing the GRE. So then for Canada, well, I got approvals. Funny enough, for Canada, I got approvals from professors from 2 schools, but I didn't get admitted. Even after I had gotten approvals and I was told to go ahead to apply and all that, but I still didn't get it. So I think US was just a very unique one for me. So I guess that's all about my story.
Victor, thank you very much. Your story is unique, and I remember you sharing part of it with me, in the course of our interaction in the past. And there's a part there that you didn't talk about. When you got the funding and you came into the US, they even have a package, waiting for
Okay.
you, settling down allowance, which is quite
Okay. When I got the funding during the visa, whatever, and everything, at some point I just got an email that, okay, there's a settling down allowance for new students, which was about, I won't mention the price. It was about some dollars. Then there was an increase in the funding at some points. I didn't know, probably it was like a general thing. So the department had to increase funding for students. So there was an increase in the funding and there was a settling down allowance, which I won't mention the price. So I think it was a good decision to come to you, actually.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful insight. And yes, so we're moving on. We have I have here with me Oluwatobi. I'll go with Toby because the reason why I want to go with Toby is Toby have a very unique experience, and it has to do with fellowship, and that's why I have him on this call to talk about fellowship and how he got that fellowship. So Toby, I would like you to just concentrate more on the fellowship part of your experience. So yes, the floor is yours. Go on.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come here. Well, my coming to the US is a journey of grace. So how did I get the fellowship? How did I get into uni? First of all, I will say that I actually transitioned from another course, right, to what I'm doing in UA presently. Although I had a background in animal science, I specialized in animal breed and genetics. And because of that, because I did some molecular part of my study, so I was able to kind of expand my horizon as to the area of research. And that's one thing I want to tell us, that we should be able to be flexible in our research and be able to adapt everything that we are doing to different things that we can see all around us. So because I had my master's, I had some publications, so I started reaching out. What brought me to you, as I didn't apply to more than one school, I just applied only to UA because my wife was actually at UA. So that was one other thing that made me to be more like, let me try UA and other schools in the South. So because she was here, I started reaching out to professors. And because I done my master's, so I looked at their profile, sent code emails that like people also say. And I had good responses from different professors at UA. So they started saying, okay, let's organize a Zoom. And I went ahead to read their profile, read their work, understand what they are doing, try to adapt to what I've done. And I created a bridge between what I had done before and what I want to do in their lab. So everything went, and one of them told me, go ahead and go and do your application. So I started, he reviewed my SOP and all of that for me. Before I know it, in another like a month, the person who I'm presently in our lab now, she sent me a mail that I'm still interested in coming to you. I said I'm still interested in coming to you. I didn't tell her that I already had an interview with another person. So I did interview with her also, and she said, okay, send me your CV. I sent my CV because I had some publications and all of that. So she said, okay, based on your research prospect, she nominated me. I did not know there was even something like a graduate council fellowship. She just sent me a mail. I'm going to nominate you from the department for a GCF. And she nominated me in the department for the GCF. Before I knew it, I received a letter for assistantship. Later on, the letter for the GCF came. They said, okay, make a choice between the GCF and assistantship. I looked at it. If I'm going to be having the GCF, I'm not going to be doing any work, for God's sake. Why will I go and take assistantship? So I went ahead to choose the GCF, and by the grace of God, I am where I am today. And everything just worked together for my good by the grace of God. So it's all about trying to leverage on what you have done before, expand your territory, right? Expand your territory. Don't be dogmatic. Try to be flexible. Try to adapt everything that you are doing. And I trust that by God's grace, we get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toby. Eisen. Very concise, very straight to the point. And, I'm glad you're here because your wife paved the way for you and you come and join him successfully. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that you guys are together, and I'm glad to have you here. Okay, so we're going ahead. I have Bisola Miriam. Bisola Miriam is she's a very close friend of mine here. So, and I would like her to share her experience with us. Bisola, are you here? Are you with us?
How many minutes do I have?
Yes, you have maximum of 10 minutes. So
okay, that's fine enough. Okay, so my name is Bisola Miriam, and I'm a study abroad coach. I lead a nonprofit, the Left Handers International Organization, and currently I'm doing my master's here at the University of Alabama, and my research interest is domestic violence and interpersonal violence vis-a-vis abuse and social stigmatization. So how did I get here? I think my journey was, there were several hiccups on my path. I say that because, I wanted to, come abroad when I graduated in 2013. And so 2014, I was, applying, started with UK, moved to Hungary, moved to Australia, did Canada, and all of this didn't work. I'm not going to bore you guys with details, of those other hiccups. But somehow I then started to focus on USA because I had a lot of people, most of my friends, girlfriends from school, got into US schools. Although I had a couple who were in Canada, I really wanted to go to Canada, but somehow it didn't work out. And I got admitted. Recall that I said I started a journey in 2014. There were a lot of hiccups, parenting, having 2 kids. So, my social construct was different. And there were several things that should have made it, discouraging and impossible for me to push on, knowing that I had toddlers in my life to take care of. And so I'm sharing this specifically because of the mothers in the house or pregnant women or married people who feel, oh, with all of this social construct, can I still, get this done? And so my story should actually get you off your seat and make you, run this race and get it done. So I eventually started making headway in 2018. When it wasn't working from 2014, I went back to UI. I got a fully funded, scholarship to do masters. Now, it wasn't a master's, area that I was interested in, but it was the, available option. And so I started. Someone, along the line, I saw that I wanted a different area. I wanted to do something in communication. And so even though I'd gotten a PhD offer in classics department, now again, classics is a very peculiar course. I think there is only one university in Nigeria, at the University of Ibadan, where you can do classics. So I was disadvantaged from the very foundation. And being a mother and so many other things made it look like, this girl, you are going nowhere. And so going back to UI, doing my master's and saying to myself, I don't want classics, I want to do communication. I got a PhD offer at the communication department in UI, but I said, no, I want to go abroad. And so 2018 was, when everything changed. I got admitted, I got offers, but I was interested in coming to UAE. At that point, I went for my visa interview in 2019 with my kids. We were denied visa, right? So even though I'd gotten funding, I was denied visa. Everything came crushing. It was as if my village people were against me, right? So at that point, I still kept on pushing, but rather than waste my time and start feeling dejected, there's something I want everyone to take away here. When you're working on your application, things would frustrate you. But you see, you need to put your energy into so many things things of purpose, so that even while you're waiting for that fully funded, you would not be depressed to the point of you will think several crazy thoughts. Suicide might come to mind. I'm just being very honest here. So you need to be committed to doing things of purpose so that when those hiccups or those difficulties come, you have something that will keep you up and going. I had a nonprofit. I had started, helping scholars, even though I had been denied visa. I just said to myself that my success story was good enough to work with other people. And so luckily for me, there was, during the COVID, I went back for my visa. And I think Mr. Toby and I were at the same embassy. We're at Lagos Embassy. So I got my visa, it was just a very interesting journey. Now, one other thing that I want to share as I, conclude is that it is very important that you know one thing for sure, that despite that you may have, yes, I had a first class, but my course of interest made no sense. It wasn't in any way significant. It wasn't relevant to many of the things that, a lot of schools are looking out for out there. But because I made the very best out of a seemingly bad situation, they believe that if I could do exceptionally well in a course that was unrelated to communication, that I could still do very well there. If I could go ahead and do a master's and still finish, summa cum laude, I was going to do well in the communication program. I had a professor who was not even working in my area of interest, who took it upon himself to make sure that I get here. This person reviewed my SOP. This person was rooting for me. I was denied visa. This person was still telling the department to keep funding for me. So I'm just saying all of this so that you know, once you are ready to get it done, the universe is ready to push you. If you are not ready, you are going nowhere. Everything begins and ends with you. You don't need anybody to believe in that dream. You need yourself from the beginning to the middle until the very end. When you get it, the whole world would align. And that is where you now see people saying congratulations. So you need you and you and you alone. I hope that makes sense.
Too much sense. Thank you very much, Bisola Mary. It's always a pleasure to listen to you speak because of the amount of insight that you have. And also, if you are interested in graduate school, as I said, Bisola Mary have a YouTube channel where she shared regular updates, information on graduate school. You can always search for her name, Bisola Miriam, on YouTube, and you can subscribe to our channel also. And I would like to call on our next speaker to come on. So, yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Abigail. I am doing my master's in German language and literature at the University of Alabama. So my story is not supposed to be long because unlike the other scholars that tried and tried and tried, to be honest, my own trying was even just, let me just give it a try because I was not ready. So I was supposed to finish school, the University of Ibadan last year. But because of COVID, I couldn't do my project defense and all of that. So everything happened this year. Really, everything has been this year. So my project defense was in January. And when I was done and the results came out of excitement, I just shared the news with my friends at the University of Alabama. They resumed earlier. last year in January. And so they were like, okay, so the department has a waived period, so I could apply. And I was like, I know I would always do, like, I already knew that I would definitely do a master's, but I was not ready. I mean, I just finished school. The next thing is supposed to be NYSC now, Abi. So I was like, I'm not ready for master's. Plus, I'm not sure I want to even do a master's in German. I did German in my undergraduate. I really wanted to do something else. And then these girls insisted, kind of. So it was, I don't know, if you're just going to pick anything from my short story, I think that however it is, you should actually try anything that you could, because if you don't try it, you would actually not know if it will work. I don't know if that makes sense. So, but the funny thing was that although I knew I was supposed to go for NYSC, after NYSC, if you asked me, okay, so what do you have planned for your life? I actually did not know. I'm just going to be very frank with you. I did not know what I wanted to do next. I was that lost. So I just felt like, okay, this application thing, let me just give it a try. I mean, it's not actually going to be so bad to study German. Besides, what if an opportunity opens and comes later in future and all of that? And so I sent a cold email to the graduate advisor. So I talked about what I studied and what I finished with, my interests, that I would love to pursue a master's under her supervision. And I also mentioned that I would love to be funded. So I don't know how it works for other departments, but I mentioned in my cold email that I would love to be funded, because if I was supposed to fund it myself, I don't think that I'll be able to, I'll be able to afford it, sponsoring myself to do a master's in the US. So I asked specifically that. In my words, I was like, how did I even put it again? I would love to be funded, or does my admission give me funding? Something like that. Anyways, I expressed my interest. I talked about my previous experiences, just a bit of everything into my cold email. And then I sent it, and she responded and asked for us to meet over Zoom. And she asked me certain questions and made sure that I could speak the language. And so, okay, there's an exam that every German student should write. It's, it's just like in French as well. You have A1, B1, B2 per level. So as at the time that I wrote my B2 exam, we were so few that wrote that exam. And to be honest, another reason why you should actually try anything, like really you could try it. So at the time I wrote that exam in 2019, I just gave it a try. I wasn't ready. I just gave it a try and I barely passed. I'm not going to lie to you. So the average for that exam was 60 and I had 61.7 or something. So I barely passed. And then it was taking, that exam has been like since 2018 actually, and I'd not used it. And then she asked, do you have that exam? I said, yes, it's actually been a while since I wrote it and I didn't do so well. She's like, she's not so impressed with the results, but has my German improved? And I had to, not like I lied, because really my German had improved. Between 2018 and last year, I'd done a lot of teaching. I'd done a lot of, my spoken German was improved. So I told her that, yes, my result wasn't so good in that exam. But that exam, I didn't really prepare for it. I just gave it an attempt to see how it felt like doing that exam. And that I taught at like different levels and my spoken German has improved. So she told me that she approved of me and asked me to go ahead with my admission application rather. And then after I think 2 weeks, I got my admission letter from the University of Alabama. So yeah, I told you my story is short. I just hope that you're able to pick that really you could try anything. Sometimes you feel like, what if it will not go? What if it will not go? What if? Just actually give it a try. Just like Shem Ajayi said that he does not know the university that he did not apply into. So really, you have a lot of options and somehow one will always come out of it. So just try. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abigail. I don't know, you guys on Twitter, you might know Abigail. She's when she got here, she made a tweet and that tweet blew up, like, it was about 50,000 likes, a lot of retweets and all that. So that's why I got to know this girl. Like, who is this girl? You know, so yeah, if you can check that out. She's quite it's quite interesting experience that she shared there with us. And thank you very much for that insight. And
Thank you.
I have Ruth will have a very, when I say very unique experience. And Ruth, I would like you to start even from your undergrad, just to bring it up a bit, because there is a lot of things insight you can share with us from there. So please, the floor is yours. Go on. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Ruth Adeyemi, and I'm a Doctor of Pharmacy student at the University of Florida College of Pharmacy. I like to brag about that a little bit because it's the #1 best pharmacy school in Florida and top 5 in the whole of US. So I like to brag about that. Now, about my journey, my funding journey up until this point, I came first into the US for my undergrad in 2015 through PTDF scholarship. And if you're Nigerian, a lot of people know PTDF scholarship because that's like one of the top scholarships in Nigeria. And the way I got the PTDF scholarship, you know, you have to know somebody to know somebody. And I'm just going to be very, very honest with you, right? My uncle was close friend with the president at the time, so it just clicked, right? Everyone else had to write SAT and they had to submit lots of letters and applications to PTDF, but all I had to do was just send in my WAEC result, and that was it. The rest just took care of itself. So from there, you know, getting the PTDF scholarship, coming to the United States to study, and even prior to that time, I had applied to the University of Benin to study PharmD because it was just the University of Benin that had that program in Nigeria. But I didn't get pharmacy, I got biotechnology, and I remember telling my mom that I'm not doing this, I'm not going. If it's not pharmacy, I'm not doing it, right? But she was like, just take it, you know, another opportunity will come. And then just shortly after the opportunity to study in the United States came, and I just left University of Benin. But coming to the US, I did not start with pharmacy, because here in the US, for you to be a doctor of pharmacy, you have to go through the process of getting your degree in either biochemistry or biology or chemistry. So I am speaking with whoever is looking at getting a doctor of pharmacy degree, or you're looking at getting, you know, if you want to start a medicine and surgery program, something like that. This is not master's, this is not PhD at this point, okay? So I went through biochemistry in Jacksonville University here in Florida, and I finished excellently well, was top of my class in the chemistry department. And I was so excited, and the idea was that, you know, this person did very well, PTDF should be able to fund whatever next step it was for me. Okay, so I reached out to them like, okay, now, and before I finished, I graduated from Jacksonville University in 2019. But before then, I had already gained admission to the University of Florida in 2018. So I started, you know, speaking with PTDF. This is my admission letter. I'm a very good student, you know, just selling myself. You guys, this will look good for you if you fund my Doctor of Pharmacy program. They started with, oh, we don't have a lot of funding, But then I still had high hopes, right? But so when I finished my program in 2019, before I finished, I went to this petroleum company program that they normally organize. It's called OTC in Texas, Houston, Texas. I went there, met a lot of Nigerians, met a lot of oil companies that came from Nigeria and other companies, started talking to a lot of people about my results and my desire to start a doctor of pharmacy program in the US, told them that I already had my admission letter, told them about the school and how excellent it is, all of that, just had that conversation there. And I got some contacts, and most especially was from my Nigerian folks. So by the time I got back to Nigeria, because I was an international student, still am, where I went there, the way it's set up is that once you're done, you have to come back home. But you all know that not a lot of people go through that route. But I was being obedient. As soon as I was done after that program, I went back home. And I still continued with the whole PTDF, just trying to see if they would fund my Doctor of Pharmacy. Then I also talked to my uncle now, another uncle who is very big in the petroleum industry, told him about my desire, told him about everything that was going on, and he started reaching out to his colleagues at PTDF, and somehow this is somebody that knew like the top guys, but it did not work out. And it goes back to God's plan. That's the only thing that will come to pass in your life, especially if you believe in God's plan. That's the only thing that will come to pass, right? So he tried, went to see these people in office, did not work out, okay? And in 2019, I was supposed to start. I couldn't start because there was no funding. So I deferred to 2020, right? And the thing is, if you're looking at a doctor of pharmacy program in the US, if you're looking at going to a medical school in the US, there is limited funding for that, especially as an international student. There is limited, like little to no funding. The majority of the funding is if you're going for a PhD program or if you're going for a master's program in any STEM related course. So if you're thinking about doctor of pharmacy, if you're thinking about medical school, little to no funding. Any funding you're getting is going to be most likely from the school through your application process, okay? So I deferred to 2020 with the hope that somehow something would happen. But then COVID hit. So PCI was talking about they don't have funding because of COVID. And that I understood. I understood that perfectly. COVID affected a lot of companies. So I just, at that point, sorry, I'm doing my job of muting people and talking at the same time. So at that point, I gave up on PTDF completely. I'm like, okay, it looks like it's not going to work. We've tried everything. Myself and my uncle, we've met a lot of people, it still did not work out. So that's it. That was it for me. Now, I was talking to one of my mentors in Nigeria. She worked in the petroleum industry for a long time before she resigned. She told me about how during her time, when she was applying for master's program in the UK, what she did was she applied for different credits, opportunities like student loans and whatnot. And then through that, right, she was able to start a master's program. She finished that, and then they allowed her to pay for her school fees after the program. So she just suggested, she talked to me about that, and that stuck in my mind because it was either pharmacy or nothing else. I did not have anything else in mind. And I only applied to the University of Florida College of Pharmacy because once I get like a go ahead from God to do something, I don't apply to several schools. It was University of Florida College of Pharmacy, and that was it. So when she told me about that, I kept it at the back of my mind. But remember, 2020, I deferred, and that was the only opportunity. That was the last deferment. In the US, you only get to defer once. After that one deferment, that's it, nothing else. So when there was no funding in 2020 and then COVID came, I actually thought that was it, and I wasn't ready to apply to any school, at that point. But now something happened. And this is why I'm going to stress the importance of God's grace and, just trusting God. My school, the admission team, they just reached out to me. They were like, would you like us to give you a new admission? And I looked at myself, I'm like, how? Am I the queen's daughter? What's going on here? How did this conversation even start? What did I do to deserve this? They just asked that question, would you like us to give you a new admission? And who would say no at that point, right? A new admission. And with the new admission, they had scholarship. It came with a scholarship opportunity from the school. Who are you to reject that kind of opportunity? So I did not even say no. I was like, yes, thank you so much. Remember, I had already deferred. That was like my last opportunity. I was not even thinking about UF at that point anymore. But then that opportunity came and I ran with it. I said, yes. Now, with the scholarship that you get, if you're applying for a doctor of pharmacy program, if you're applying for a medical school in the US, most of the time, the funding does not cover everything, right? It doesn't cover everything, but it covers a good sum of your tuition. And during my 2 years of waiting in Nigeria, the first year I did my NYSC. The second year, I focused solely on my business. I'm a blogging coach. So I focused solely on my business. I was working with a lot of Nigerians, teaching digital skills, because I already gotten that information when I was in the US. And I'm like, how is it possible that a lot of Nigerians don't have this knowledge? So I was passionate about that and was just teaching, focus on my business. And with the scholarship that I got from school and coupled with the proceeds from my business, that's how I funded my first year, paid my first year tuition for the University of Florida College of Pharmacy. Now, a lot of people have been talking about cold emails and everything. I did not go through that route because remember, this is not a master's program. This is not a PhD program. It's a clinical doctorate. It's not a research-based doctorate. So it's different, all right? So I went through that route and then paid my first year of tuition. Now, here is the difference. So once you can take care of your first year as a medical student or as a doctor of pharmacy student, you now have access to like lots and lots of scholarship opportunities. That's the thing. So if you can get in that first year, I don't know how you're going to do it. If you're going to collect money from everybody that you can, whoever loves you, gather that funding, get it together, pay for that first year. After the first year, you have access to like crazy amount of opportunity through the school, affiliated to the school. They will recommend you to lots of scholarship opportunities, especially as an international student. They are willing to help you out. So first year sorted, and now I'm swimming in this ocean of scholarship opportunities. I don't even know where to start from. So advice, if you're looking at medical school, not necessarily master's, not necessarily PhD, but you're going through my route, if you can take care of that first year, or somehow you got a scholarship for the first year, you're settled. Pretty much you are. So that's how I was able to get started with my Doctor of Pharmacy program. And remember, just like Ms. Bisola said, while you're waiting, do something, literally do something. Because with my blogging coach business, even now, my advisors, it's like they're carrying me like a baby, like, oh my God, you have an advantage over every student because you have this business. And that business started because I was bored. I was bored during NYC. I was posted to this university that they had nothing going on. It was not busy for me because I like working. So I just started that business during NYC, and it's been an added advantage to me ever since. So while you're waiting, get busy, do something, because it will save you a lot of mental stress. When you're feeling like this is not just working out, the fact that you're helping lots of lives, people that they don't even know what you're going through, that will be more than enough to keep you going on days that you feel like, I don't think I can do this anymore. So yeah, that's all I have for you. Like Sunday says, this is a completely different route. This is for if you're looking for medical school, doctor of pharmacy, that's the route that I went through, and you can absolutely go through a similar route as well. But don't forget this: once you can conquer that first year, the rest is easy. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, excellent. There's no other word to use for that. You spoke so eloquent, and you break it down in details. One thing I pick out there is the last part of the last statement you made. While you are waiting, do something, and that is very important. You need to fill your gaps in your experience. You need to do something valuable while you are waiting. So thank you very much, Ruth, for that wonderful insight about, I'm just hearing this for the first time, the route to medical school, the difference, between that and contemporary PhD programs and all that. So, but thank you very much. And yes, we are, think I've listened to the scholars. They have shared their different experience, and I haven't shared mine, basically. And I think it's important that I do that. I have my own fair share of experience when it comes to applying to scholarships. My journey started 2018 while I was serving at the University of Ilorin, Nigeria. And I first applied to Chevening Scholarship. I didn't even get to the first stage of the interview, but I got a couple of offers from UK universities, which is quite simple. Like getting offers from UK is just like drinking water. It's easy to drink water. So, you can get it without, because they don't care whether they're not going to give you funding, but they can always give you offers for admission. So after that, while I was serving, I got my transcript then, in preparation, I got my passport, and then Commonwealth Scholarship came out, and I applied for Commonwealth Scholarship. I got Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, and that's what I used for my master's in the UK. And while I was in UK, that's where I started to think that, oh, I don't want to do my PhD in the UK. I want to do my PhD in the US. And I prepared, wrote TOEFL, wrote GRE, and started reaching out to faculties. And basically, University of Alabama was my first choice when it comes to USA for some certain reasons. And I reached out to this particular professor after going through his profile. His work areas was quite interesting to me, and his experience working in Africa, doing research related to African transportation problems, finding solutions to transportation issues in Africa, that actually interested me. And I reached out to him that, okay, this is my experience, this is what I want to do, and I would like to work with you. I was so direct when I was sending my email, I was like, can you be my supervisor? That was the title of my email. I don't go by saying potential PhD student, those type of generic formats people do use. I was direct. I said, can you be my supervisor? It was a question I used as my heading. And when he will respond, he was like, he responded to my email because I was so confident. He said I was so confident that, the title actually attracted him to me to respond to that email. And he said, okay, there's no funding. Then he was still in Namibia while he was responding, because he was a Fulbright scholar. He was doing some research work in Namibia. He told me that, oh, when I get back to US next year, I will see what fundings are available. So I can't give you any response now. And I said, okay, that's fine. That was in 2019, towards around October, around September, I think, yeah, while I was still in the UK. And it's okay, that's fine. I came back, I submitted my application. I was still, exchanging connection with him. Then COVID hit, and funding was not available, but we keep talking. And for 1 year, we are still talking. And towards the end of 2020, he said, okay, there's this research. If you're interested, we can work something out. And I said, okay, that's fine. We can do it. Let's do it. I started while we are on a Zoom call, he was like, okay, if you're interested in this, let's talk. I started giving him ideas of how we can work on that research just from my head. That's like to show him that I'm interested in it. And he was like, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, we can process the papers. And within 1 week, I got my offer letters and everything. The funding came in, and everything. And the emotional part, or the misfeeling I had, was that the funding offer came in on, if you remember, Nigerians 2020, October 10, 2020. October 20, 2020, I remember. Is it 2020? I've forgotten how that, the Lekki massacre, I know most people know. That was the day I got my offer letter. So I was happy somehow, but I wasn't happy on the other side because of what happened that day in Nigeria, Lagos State, and I was in Lagos that day. So that was my personal experience, and that's how I'm here right now doing my PhD on a fully funded graduate research assistantship, and working with the Alabama Transportation Institute as a research assistant. So that's fair share of my own experience, and I appreciate everyone that have shared their own experience here so far. And straight up, we are going to go to the question and answer section. And based on the questions the scholars will be providing more insight to you on what to do, how to navigate the application process to grad school in the US, the funding opportunities, what you need to do, how you need to prepare your application, how you need to make your application strong. So those are the things that we'll be shedding more light on, and we'll be taking questions. If you have questions, you can raise up your hand. And thank you very much, Shoma, for attending to some questions on the YouTube page. I can see your activities there. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so we'll be taking questions from, if you have questions, raise your hand. I will ask you to unmute yourself and ask your question. And also we'll take a couple of questions if there is anyone so that we didn't attend to here, we take from the YouTube page and we proceed from there. All right. So yes, and please make sure you rename yourself so that you have your name, not the name of your phone. So I'll prioritize those that I can see their name, and so that we can have a better interaction. So straight up, I will call on Prince. Prince, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hello, please can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, go on, we can hear you.
All right, okay. So thank you so much. I am personally very impressed. So I'm speaking from Accra, Ghana. Well, I don't know if there are some of my other Ghanaian colleagues who are on this call. But so let me start by appreciating the fact that not to sound maybe biased, but it's looking like most of you Nigerian scholars are doing really well for us Africans, primarily exposing us to the fact that it is possible to go out there, achieve higher academic learning and all of that this scholarship offers, and all of these opportunities that you are opening our eyes to day in, day out, especially on Twitter and then on YouTube. Now, straight to my question. So I have an agriculture background. I did agriculture during my BSc and I majored in horticulture from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I graduated with a second class honors, upper division, 2-1, you guys call it in Nigeria. I want to know, in the US, will it be easy or somewhat easy for me to secure funding for postgraduate studies, or are there schools that do agric in the US? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prince, for your question. Yes, I would say there are schools that do your program, your agricultural related program. There are a couple of schools. There are a lot of schools that have funding opportunities in that areas. I know a lot of my friends who are doing their PhD related to agriculture, whether animal science, plant science, what have you. So it's all about you searching for, going to the school. Use the link that will be shared. I will send the presentation I did, the links there to you guys that register for this event in the email. So you can go through it, go through those links, search for schools. You can even search on Google directly that, okay, universities that offers courses in this area in USA. It will bring a list of schools for you. And based on that, you can start looking at, okay, which schools have funding. You can go through maybe the R1 schools that I talked about earlier on while we started the program, and see which of those schools that offers a Greek related course fall within those R1 schools. And based on that, that's how you start to build your information base in terms of the schools that you want to apply to. So basically you have a 2-1 that is fantastic, because most schools in the US, you just need to have a minimum of 2-1. And even if you have a 2-2, there are still schools that have opportunities for that. And mind you, in the US, they are not very strict when it comes to your academic grade. Having a first class can give you an edge, having a 2-1 can give you an edge. But having a 2-2 third class, we have people that have those grades that have gotten fully funding to study in the US. So US is not strict like other, it's not like a specific scholarship where they will state it categorically that you must have 2-1 for you to be eligible to apply. There is no eligibility. You see on some website that, they will tell you, even if you have 2-2, you can still be given conditional admission for if you meet some other criteria. So yes, there are opportunities for you. So that's what I would say. And I don't know if there's any other scholar that have 1 or 2 things to say.
Let me add to that.
Okay, go on, Toby.
Because I have an agricultural background. My background is animal science. So my advice, first of all, would be for you to create a niche for yourself, because you want to go postgraduate, right? Create a niche for yourself in the area of, and plant science, whatever, is a very, very wide area. Create a niche. For example, you must have done a project in the undergraduate. So that gives an idea of the type of, probably if you want to continue in that area, you can continue in that particular area, and now start looking for areas in schools in the US that are offering courses in relation to what you did in your project. So that gives a very strong background. And if you have written that project up, or you want to go ahead to maybe present it in a conference, get it into publication, it's going to be an added advantage for you, right? So try to create a niche for yourself in that particular area. Then that will sponsor the next level for you and determine which schools that you are going to be looking at, right?
Thank you, Toby. Shemun, please go on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toby, for that. I really like that explanation. So what I'm going to add is that sometimes people, I won't say we are short-sighted, but because we are not used to it, we often try to look for our programs in the traditional courses, and sometimes we miss out. You might not really see maybe Department of Agriculture or PhD Agricultural Science. So I'm going to give an example. For example, in my program here, PhD is in Biological Sciences. There's a particular faculty where our research area is in the area of, plants. And what they do is try to see how invasive plants could affect, the growth of normally, growing horticultural plants. So that might be something you might be interested in. It's just for you to be able to understand how you can really search. And I'm gonna go there now very soon. Then Purdue also has a very good College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. So that's a very good place you can look at for. Then there are some other programs, like I said, that people are not used to, like plant pathology. Toby was saying something about carnage. Are you interested in breeding? Are you interested in the genetics part? Are you interested in the pests that affect these plants? That would define the kind of program you can apply for. Then I was saying something about how you can really search. One way to go about is to go to Google Scholar. Go to Google Scholar after you've defined your research interest. And Google scholar.google.com. Type your how would I call it? Type the name of the keyword of your research interest. It's going to bring out different papers that have been done in that area. And you can have interaction with professors that way. That professor you're looking for might not be entirely in the Department of Agriculture. It might be in another department. So that's a very good way to go about it.
Thank you very much, Sean, for that. I think that's answers the question. I will call on the next person. Michael. I have two Michael here. Maybe it's the same person, but Michael, anyone that's let me, okay. I will just ask you to unmute yourself. So Michael.
Good afternoon or good morning. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, go on, please.
Oh, yeah. My name is Michael. I really want to make an inquiry. Thank you. Because when I listen to your own part of the story, I want to ask about University of Alabama. Actually, I'm also in UK doing my MSc. But what I want to ask is that for those that have submitted application, I'm asking with respect to Alabama now or any other schools as the case may be. When you submit your application and your final transcripts now is yet to be completed, as in you're yet to finish your modules, but the school says you should go ahead, and you've submitted your application, is there anything you need to do again? Do you need to send mails to graduate admissions for follow-up? Do you need to send a mail to your program director? I'm talking about the PhD program now. Is there a need for someone to send mails, just to like kind of backup or a kind of follow-up? Now, let me use the word follow-up to have a successful admission. So that's what I want to ask. Then also, I would like to, if possible, I don't mind if you can share your email or possibly your WhatsApp number after this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael, for your question. In terms of your application follow-up or something like that, it's not necessary, basically. Once you submit your application, you're sure you meet all the necessary requirements in submitting your application. you'll be considered based on merits. They have a review period, most times 6 weeks or more, depending on the volume of application they have. And once they reach a decision on your application, they will get back to you basically. But if you want to follow up, fine, you can always send email to the graduate school to ask, okay, I submitted my application. It is now 6 weeks since I submitted. I've not had anything. When should I be expecting a response? That is fine. That is totally fine. They won't take that against you. So you can do that, but you don't have to kind of lobby or do anything totally different, to get an offer or to get a funding, except probably if you want to keep sending cold emails, which is okay. But in terms of you getting funding or getting an offer, it's totally based on merits, and there is nothing you can't interfere with the process. You can only inquire to know when that will be done. So basically that is it. And it applies to almost all other schools that you can think of here in the US. So I hope that answers your question. So the next person I'll call on is, I have Shidozie. Shidozie, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, so my name is Chidozie from Nigeria, and I'm going to ask my question specifically for the stage I am currently in my application process to a school in the US. Okay, so I've been trying to get into a school in the US for a while now. Initially, some years back, I tried using, let's say, through an agent, and it's like the guy swindled me because after the money I spent, I didn't make any headway. But my friends that did it themselves and got admission advised me that if I want to do anything like this, I should do it myself, which is what I did this year. And I got admission, I got part funding. And why I said I want to ask a specific question is, okay, in my own case now, I got part funding, and my colleagues overseas advised me on applying for a student loan, which I did. From what I hear, there are several options, but I specifically applied for Empower. But I was sent a regret mail, or to like, but it's like a week or 2 weeks back. And since then, I've been devastated. Like, I've been so down. It's almost as if I should give up because I really don't even know what to do. So I just don't know. My question is, okay, for someone like me now that I've not tried to apply for a student loan, what is next for me like this? Because is it that I need to start trying? Oh no, let me make it more interesting. I have a 2-1 in my undergraduate. I have a distinction in my master's level because I've done both master's and undergraduate here in Nigeria. And the program I'm going for is actually master's, not PhD. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just here to like maybe get better insights on how to apply maybe for a master's program that will give me full funding, or a PhD program that will give me full funding. Thank you.
Sorry, before Sunday continues. So is there a particular reason why you want to do a master's again?
No, I just felt maybe getting a PhD might be harder or something.
I mean, you have a very good undergraduate CGPA and you had distinction in your master's. Oh no, come on. One of the experiences I didn't share is that, for my master's, for my bachelor's, I did biology for my master's. But for my undergraduate, I did biology. For my master's, I did something different. I did environmental safety and health, and I switched back to PhD for biological sciences. So, I mean, you had a very good CGPA on the graduate level and master's distinction. I think you should be shooting for a PhD, and you shouldn't even be paying money to go to school in the United States. I mean, based on what you just told us here. Yeah, I mean, maybe Sunday has something else to say to you. Anyway.
Shidozie, thank you very much for your question. I think the first thing is you have to do it yourself. Basically, all the scholars here on this call, all complete the application themselves. You don't have to pay anybody to help you to go through the application process or write your SOP and all that. You are coming to grad school, and this is what you do for a long time in terms of writing articles, writing projects, papers, and everything. So you should be able to do that yourself. And then coming into you applying for masters, as Sheon have highlighted, you should be shooting for PhD. The thing most people don't know about US is that PhD is more easier to get than a master's when it comes to funding. And even if you have with your bachelor's, you can get a PhD full funding, like I have thousands, hundreds of people here, University of Alabama, that came in with their bachelor's on full funding PhD programs. So you have a bachelor, you have a good master's degree, come on, don't waste that distinction, just go straight to a PhD program. Most time there are some programs that don't even have funding for masters. That is the truth. I know a lot of guys here that are doing masters, they have to come with a loan, they have to take a loan. Like 3 of them, I know them, they are right there. We are staying in the same apartment. They have to take loans to come and do their master because their department don't have funding for master's program. So you have to be sure before you put in your application, so go for, my advice for you is just to go for a PhD, make a new application, you have a good profile, send cold emails as the case may be, and shoot higher. Don't limit yourself. All right. So that's my answer for you. So, right. I will call on Agbolade. Agbolade, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My question goes towards, I just finished my undergrad, and the truth of the matter is I didn't finish well. I finished with a 2-2. So, and I really want to pursue my master's degree. I studied actuarial science actually, so I'm looking at masters in statistics because I just checked my transcript and I realized all of my statistics course, I did so well there. So I'm thinking of just going for a master in statistics, and I like it so. So I don't know. I don't really have much work experience. I have internships because I've done some internships, and publication, I don't have any except for my final year project. And so I'm kind of in between. I'm really confused at this stage. I've not even gone for my NYC. But then I listened to one of the stories someone shared about not even going to NYC, and then she's studying German or something abroad. So I don't know. I'm actually very confused at this point. I don't even know where to start from because I was thinking of writing GRE next year and IELTS, but the truth of the matter is I'm still very confused. I don't know where to start from. I don't even know what I'm doing. So I don't know if probably there's like any highlight or if there's anyone that probably doing master in statistics and all that can like be like a mentor or something to guide me through. So that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Abulade, for your question. You have a 2-2. That shouldn't be a barrier. First of all, I've highlighted that we have couple of scholars who have 2-2, and they are here today. There are different things you can do at this stage. The first thing you have to do is to look out for schools that have funding for a master program in statistics, because what we are talking here is funding. It's not about you making an application. Funding is the primary thing why you are applying to schools in US. Without funding, you can't even come here, basically. So you have to first look out for schools, that has funding in statistics. If you are going to go for a PhD or master's, you have to look at if they have funding for master's program. And if they don't, can you go for PhD? Like in mathematics in the University of Alabama, they have a lot of funding for PhD in mathematics. But forget about masters, you're not going to get anything. But if it's PhD, I have like about 4 or 5 Nigerians that are doing their PhD in mathematics here in the University of Alabama. So statistics also can be the same thing. You have to search first of all. And if your result is going to be kind of a barrier when it comes to, in that direction, you might also consider doing a WES evaluation. Because I have a couple of guys who have done WES evaluation, and it turns out that it improves their CGPA. They move from 2.2 to 2.1. It happens. If your CGPA is close to 2.1, you are likely going to cross when you do a WES evaluation. So you might consider doing that. Just go to wes.org. You can get information. And if you reach out on Twitter, we can connect you with people who has done WES evaluation, who have 2.2, who has gotten funding and all that. We have a community of scholars with different experience on Twitter, and we can always connect. You can reach out to Shane, we can reach out to myself, and we'll always be glad to help you in that. And once you get a school that has funding, then what is the criteria? Writing GRE will really help you to improve your chances of getting funding, because most times, you know, GRE helps you to get funding. When they are considering people to give funding to, it can boil down to looking at your GRE scores. If there is someone that have a GRE and there's another person that doesn't have a GRE, they are more likely to prioritize the person that have GRE. So that can also help you to improve your chances. You don't have to have publications. Most of people that got funding, even with their bachelors, don't have publications. So that shouldn't be a barrier. And if you see a faculty in your area of research, you can also send code emails. So those are the things you should start doing right now. So you understand? Yeah.
Yeah,
Shane,
sorry,
anything?
Sunday, let me just
okay.
add to that.
Toby, go on.
Yeah,
please.
I will say that we should not just we should not discourage people from having publication. It can actually enhance their chances. So if you have the opportunity, please go ahead to have it. Anything at all that will enhance your opportunity, please endeavor to have it. Don't look down on any requirement. If it's GRE, get it. IELT, get it. Publication, get it. Some people were talking about, Bisola talked about getting to do other things. Like, it's not just only your academic progress they want to see. They also want to see some other things that you have done. Because coming into a graduate school is not only academics you are going to be doing. You are going to be teaching. There are some skills. There are some skill set you are going to need as a graduate student to teach, to interact with other people. So please, let's just develop ourselves, and anything that we just think that we advance this course, let's endeavor to get it. Please, that's just it.
Thank you very much.
And I had something.
Yeah,
okay.
I think Bisola should.
Sorry, I know. I mean, what I want to say is, it's very important that people realize that even after you get into the system, the program is so draining that you'll be tired of schoolwork. So if you don't have any other life aside from book, most of the time you'll be mentally stressed. If you're not doing anything that is impacting lives, and then you're coming here, you see, most of the people who get opportunities, they are not the people who are desperate. Now, desperation is in category, right? So there is the good desperation and there's the bad desperation. I've been a victim of bad desperation. I mean, imagine I was swindled as well. So it gets to a point where you just tell yourself that it's either I get it or I get it. When it begins to get to that point, you'll be so stressed. So it's very important that you are calculative in your approach, and while you're chasing this whole goal. I mean, can you commit to doing community-related projects? Let me give an example. Even if you think that you don't have all the skills to write papers, that area of interest, can you do anything in the community that is in line with it? So maybe your interest is fishery. Do you have a fish farm where it's like a social enterprise, right? And you're basically teaching women who are secondary school leavers, or, in the school, how to do fish farming. I mean, I have a lot of young people who run small scale businesses in that area. So they need to see that beyond you being a bookworm, there are many people who are coming with the best CGPAs, the best, maybe the TOEFL score or, GRE score. What makes you outstanding is, those other qualities, those other things that many people traditionally would not do or focus on. If you don't have publications yet, I mean, think about the things you've done in the community. How about you pumping it up and, shining light on those things and those other things that you have done? Let me tell you one interesting thing. I am studying a communication program, no doubt. I had a first and second degree in classics. My interest is, domestic violence and stigma. Because I'd written a book on stigma, because I'd started a nonprofit, the Left-Handers International Organization, talking about stigma and abuse and all of that. Those were like my selling points, right? That I had one, in quotes, bloody first class didn't matter. Why? Because it didn't make sense to them. I didn't have the background they were looking for. But because I'd involved myself in community work, I'd been interacting with people. One thing we all need to understand is research, research ideas are not born from papers alone or from your classroom work. Research ideas can be born on the field. They can be born in your community work. So you need to show that, okay, despite that, even if you didn't do anything related to your interest in school, what have you done in your community that then motivated you to say, this is what I want to commit the rest of my life to doing? And rather than get frustrated and keep focusing on your CGPA, my CGPA did not make sense, for crying out loud. So you need to begin to ask yourself, what are those other things that you need to focus on that you're not focusing on? Beyond the grades, they want well-rounded, candidates who represent them anywhere. And these little things, they do matter. And lastly, if you are not visible, work on your visibility henceforth. When I say visibility, I mean, when they Google your name, what would they find? Leave all this, my CGPA, my CGPA. Be visible so that they can say, wow. They won't check your transcript first. Once you email somebody, they would have gone online. Okay, what is this person into? Let the things they will see online, let it match what you're coming to tell them via your, email, your statement of purpose. Let the story align. Application story is not about your CGPA alone. I can keep talking. You know what? Let me just keep quiet.
All right, so sorry, before Chioma go ahead, I just want to add to what Bisola just said, because, and that is the essence of statement of purpose, because you want to create a narration, or you want to create a narrative about yourself, about who you are. And if your narrative is skewed towards academics alone, it becomes a problem. And because one of the things they want, especially if you're a PhD student, is someone who is going to be able to commit to extracurricular activities. Is this someone worthy to be a leader? Is this someone worthy to do? For example, my advisor gets grants, and one of the requirements of getting a grant is that we're going to do community service with the grants. So every spring semester, we go around to a particular high school called the Hughes STEM High School here, and we teach them vector biology generally. That is community service. At some point, we take them to the zoo for them to see what is happening. So they're not just interested in committing funds to someone who is only a bookworm, because everything should align. Everything should translate to the life of people. So if you want to create this, for those who are, who are currently in the undergraduate, please start creating a story about yourself. So you want to create that academic part. You want to create that leadership part. You want to create that volunteering part. They want a well-rounded person. For example, if I and Sunday are applying for the same program, and the only thing I can offer them is my 4.0 CGP, and if he can offer me something else, he has been involved, in organizing spaces for people who are looking for scholarship. He's going to get it because they know that they can commit responsibility to this person. So start creating a story about yourself. Start creating a story, and the sky is just a starting point if you can do that.
Okay, go on, Shoma.
Yeah, so I totally agree to what Luashiu and Madam Bisola has been saying. Like, I had an experience, like my second admission from University of North Dakota, PhD Biomedical Science. Like, I had prepared for all academic questions, so to say, but the academic questions they asked me was not even up to 5 minutes. The next thing I heard was that, what's your life outside academic? Like, tell me about your life. Like, now I'm taking everything away from you. I knew you're a good fit and all, but like, it was like bored of like, the question threw me off balance because other interviews I've been preparing for were just, what's your research interest? How does your research interest align with mine? Like, tell me about yourself and all of that. But like, these people just wanted to know, like, what am I doing beside academics? And this is what I'm doing. This is what I love. And you're taking it away from me. And you're telling me to tell you about my life outside academics. And then it was a very, very interesting one because I think before I even started my application, I had this newsletter that I send out link for people to subscribe, and I have like a weekly. But when I started my application, like I just had to let that go, like all of a sudden. It gave like the at the end of that interview, like it gave me like a further insight that even after you get the admission, so to say, like you still need to have a life outside academics. Like you still need to have a life, like, and do a lot of like extracurricular work, and it was all the things that I had said to, and I got the admission. So I would recommend this.
Yeah. Mr. Sunday.
Yes, Victor.
Yeah. I feel that one thing is that, okay, when I got to Scalosa, I got here on Saturday, and my advisor came to the apartment on Sunday to come and pick me. I think the first thing he told me was that one thing that struck us about your application was that you had a lot of experiences in different things. I'd worked as a teacher, I'd worked in publishing firm, I had been a student leader, I had done UI UX, I had done jack of all trades everywhere. So I also included those things in my application. I had done jack of all trade everywhere, UI UX, I had done all those stuff. I even have a bookstore where I sell books back in Nigeria. So I had included all those things and just found a way to push it into my story. So he said he was just interested in listening to how do you manage to do all these things? How do these experiences? So it was just like telling a story, oh, when I was doing this, blah, 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 this. So I think it's graduate school application is not just about CGPA. I think it's like Mr. Ajayi said, it's well-rounded, it's including CGPA, your experience as a person. I think that's what really matters and how you tell those stories. So it's not just about CGPA. I won't say I had the best CGPA, so I didn't come out with a first class. So I feel it is just about the experiences you've gathered over the years and what you're currently doing.
Thank you very much, Victor. I don't have anything to add to that. You guys have nailed it to the core, you know. And so I will call on
one comment. I'm not going to make it long. The comment is that people need to also know that there are scholarships out there that are not focused on your CGPA. So if you haven't done enough work before coming here, you know, when you're coming, you're going to be doing school work fully. So some of the things you've done back home might then be useful in applying for scholarships. I said scholarships, I did not say assistantship. So if you don't have things that you can then leverage on, because the money will never be enough. That's another topic for another day. So you need more money. You need more funding in your life. So how would you get them if you don't have other things that you're doing? So, I mean, I just wanted to chip that in quickly.
Yes, that's very important. That just remind me that there's one scholarship I want to apply to now. And I need to tell a story about my background. So I have to, you know, thank you very much, Bisola, for shipping that in. Okay, Doyi, I'm glad to have you here. Doyi, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Sunday. Hello,
Hey.
everyone. Okay, so my name is Adib Doi. I'm currently studying in the UK, my MSc, and I'm just a bit confused about when it's right to actually put in an application for a PhD in the US, because I'm just about 3 months into my program here in the UK, and I know that one of the requirements is to submit a transcript, my statement of purpose, and also contacting a prospective supervisor. So putting in all these essays that I need to write, my transcripts, and all of that, I'm feeling like I'm not maybe ready to submit an application yet. I feel like I don't have like maybe a good story to tell yet, enough story to tell, I'll put it that way, you know, to submit an application. So I just want to know the right timing, or if it's okay to start my applications now. What are the things I need to start? I can put into my application, you know, to show that maybe I'm doing my masters, and then I want to start up with my PhD maybe in fall next year, or January in 2023.
Okay, Doyin, thank you very much for your question. Based on my experience, while I was in UK, I wanted to, you know, apply to PhD here, and started my program September or thereabouts. it was getting to December. I was about to write GRE and TOEFL, and most UK US application, if you want to start in fall next year, the following year, you have to kind of submit your application early before. Mostly some deadlines is in December, some moves to January or thereabout. But I realized that I was not fully ready and I don't want to just submit any kind of application. I have to wait. I wrote my GRE, I got my result and everything. I waited and I finished my master's. I went back to Nigeria. It was in Nigeria that I submitted my application to University of Alabama to start for the following year. So and that can work for you. You are just starting your master's. If you think that it's too close for you to meet up all these requirements, you don't have to like stress yourself a lot. But if you think you can do it, yes, it's fine. You can go ahead and do it. Or if you know you can wait for 1 year after your master's, to start for the 20, that will be for 2023, I suppose, because funding most of the time are usually more funding are available for fall. That's how it works. But things usually change. Like last year when I came in, a lot of students resumed spring, not because there's a lot of funding in spring, but because most of the students apply for fall, but the admission was moved to spring because of COVID, and they have to resume in spring. So, but in generally, when things are normal, fall usually have a lot of funding opportunity. But one thing I will tell you right now is, based on your area of interest, you can start reaching out to faculties, sending good emails and all that. So yeah, we can always talk more about that,
All right.
Personal.
Yeah, sorry, let me also add something. See,
Yes,
COVID has actually scattered the semesters and all that. So the funding in some departments may be more even skewed to the spring currently because of so many things. The system is just trying to adjust. The most important thing, like you said, get a faculty. The faculty person will actually tell you when it is right for you to apply, whether to apply for spring, whether to apply for fall. Even some people still coming in the summer. So it depends. Just reach out and get the right information.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toby. Okay, Taufikat Forari, can you go on with your question?
Hi, everyone.
Can hear you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. My name is Taufikat. I'm a fresh graduate of Federal University of Technology, Akure. I'm going to go straight to the point. My question is about having a research experience in one particular field, then trying to go for a PhD in another field. Like myself, I have an experience during my undergraduate in plant pathology, but I intend to go for a PhD in plant breeding. So now I'm kind of confused on how to craft my SOP for the application into plant breeding. So I don't know how to go about it. It's really important that I talk about my research experience in plant pathology while applying for plant breeding, or I should just talk about the courses I took as an undergraduate instead of talking about my experience in plant pathology.
Shem, go on.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for that. I mean, your own is even very close, so you shouldn't have any problem of aligning it. For example, I'm not speaking like an agricultural expert. So you did plant pathology. There are better ways you could write your SOP in such a way that you're describing what you did in terms of plant pathology, and you're saying that I mean your future plans is to do something. Like you can say it this way, like you can create the narration like this is what you did, and you feel like, for example, plant breeding is about you want to raise, yeah, for example, in plant pathology, maybe you're trying to look at how pests affect plants, and in plant breeding you're trying to see how you can actually develop maybe pest resistant plants, something like that. So there's this kind of connection that you can create, like, oh, this is what I did, and but due to certain constraints, I was not able to really try and see. And now, I want to try and start working on this area of where we can create. I mean, your plant breeding should be based on the pathology aspect, because you want to make sure there's a connection. You don't want to talk about something that, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, for example, if I work with, maize, and my pathology aspect of maize is that, I'm trying to see how, a particular pest is affecting it. Then if I want to talk about breeding patterns, like, okay, I want to see how I can, raise or create transgenes that's going to help us to really, that's going to help these plants develop resistance against this particular pest. So let there be a connection all through. You don't want there to be, if once there's any disconnect, it becomes a problem. So you have a very foundation where you can build on. It's just for you to be able to create a very interesting story that's going to sell. You can, it doesn't even matter even if you want to change entirely. Since you're still in the area of plants, you won't have any issues. Just talk about your research and talk about the reason why you feel like, one of the ways you can also go about is to talk about why you think, you are the best fit for this new area of research. It might have something to do with your future career plans. It might have something to do with, your passion. Just be able, just create that story, create that narrative, and everything was gonna work out well. Yeah. Hopefully, Mr. Lucas.
Can I say something quickly? Okay, Mr. Toby, go ahead.
Okay, so one other thing I would try to say is that, as he has said, there's a connection between. Try also to gain, some skills that is related to the new area that you are trying to go to. Like, you want to now go to breeding from probably pathology and all of that. So try to start building some skills, try to start understanding some of the tools that are going to be needful or useful in that next new skills, and start bringing in that. So that becomes something strong that is preparing you already for the next place you are going to. That is very, very important. So what you're also doing, like he said, is just a genetics by environmental interaction. Yeah, you have been doing pathology environment. Now you want to bring in the breeding aspect into it. So it's very easy for you to actually bring that together. We can actually talk about it if you don't mind later.
Okay. What I wanted to share quickly is just like an acronym I came up with. And I think I share this with scholars in my community. I call it PCG. PCG. So P stands for personal, C stands for communal, and G stands for global. In whatever way you want to go about it, whether in your SOP or your CV, there should be a narrative. And my recommendation is start from a personal story, move on to a communal story, meaning that, oh, I'm interested in so. So for instance, I'm interested in domestic violence and abuse. The personal story is I've been a victim of domestic violence. I grew up in such, family setting. So my personal story is something that would make anybody to say, oh, let's see. I'm able to create that emotion around my application. The communal aspect is this really a problem? As in, is this really a social problem or something that is going to change the lives of people? So in my community, is this affecting the lives of people? What are the statistics? Give me the data. So I must also identify that is the logic behind what you're telling them. And then you then connect it whatsoever the professor or whoever it is you're reaching out is doing. Even if it is a professional course like medicine or whatever, even law school, you must tell a story. The global aspect is beyond your country. Is this going to be solving any of the sustainable development goals? Think about it. That's where the world is going to now. Everyone is thinking SDG. So think PCG in whatever you're doing and find a way to, piece everything, put the pieces together, and I'm sure you come up with something strong.
Thank you very much, Bisola, and everyone that have contributed to that question. Okay, the next person is Grace. Grace, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hello. Good
Yes,
evening.
go on.
Okay, I'm calling from Nigeria. My question is, from everything I listened to, first I want to thank you for this opportunity, but from everything I listened to, I discovered that publication gives people an age, like how much you have maybe publicized. And for me that just finished school, it's just like my final year project. So I want to ask if there is a community or an organization that one can actually register into that will help someone in this research work and others. Then other question I want to ask is, someone talked about PharmD, like doctor of pharmacy, and I, from research or from the simple research I've done, I know they do this doctor of physiotherapy in US. So I want to ask, is it the same way as doctor of pharmacy? Like you need to have a course before you are able to do the doctor of pharmacy before getting your PharmD, or there's a difference? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. In the doctor of pharmacy question, I will allow Ruth to answer that first.
Hold on. Hello, Grace. Yeah, so when it comes to doctor of pharmacy, doctor of therapeutics, medicine and surgery, dentistry, those kind of professional courses that are not, it's not research based, right? PhD. In the US, you need to have your undergrad in either chemistry, biology, or biochemistry, like I've said before. Now, you have people who don't have all of that. They don't have a background in biology, chemistry, whatnot. But what you can do is you can take all the courses required, right? Take all the required classes. Once you can show a proof of that. So let's say your undergrad was in psychology or your undergrad was in something else. As long as you can take all the required courses needed for the program you're going for, maybe it's dentistry, therapeutics, whatever it is. So if you've taken the required courses to enter into that program, regardless of what your undergrad was in, right, you'll be good to go. Now, for this kind of program, you either need to take, they have professional exams that you have to take. For a doctor of pharmacy, you need to take the PCAT exam, which is the pharmacy college admission test. You need to take that. For medical school, you need to take the MCAT, which is the medical version of that, right? Now for doctor of therapeutics, I'm not sure what the exam is, but usually for these kind of programs, you have an exam to take. So once you've taken all the required courses, regardless of what your undergraduate was in, once you've taken that, then you need to take the exam for the program you're going for. Now, for pharmacy, I know that they've discarded PCAT, the pharmacy college admission test. You don't need that anymore. COVID started and, they made that easy for incoming pharmacy students. So just, I would say, do your research, check what it is for doctor of therapeutics, if that's what you're going into. But if you want to go for a doctor of pharmacy, you don't need PCAT anymore. All you have to do is just take the classes required, your biology, chemistry, physics, just the basics, right? And once you take all those classes, you apply. And once again, just like a lot of people have said, being able to connect your why as you're filling out your application essay, being able to connect why you're a good fit. For me, I talked about how, my interest in pharmacy started just by watching my uncle in Nigeria. He was so passionate about patient care. And even though he was working in the rural area, but he was so passionate about patient care. And I want to be like that and more. So just being able to connect your story, even in the application process, besides the classes that you're taking. And aside from that, during my undergrad too, I did a lot of community service, was a part of African Student Association. We came up with a lot of ideas and we did a lot of community service through that organization. So yes, taking the classes is good. Then you need community service and connecting your story through your application process. That will make you a good fit now that you don't need these entrance exams anymore. But like I said, for doctor of therapeutics, you will have to do your research on that one. I don't know if they have an entrance exam, and I don't know if that's not needed anymore. And I can check that for you while we're on this call. I'll just put it in the chat box, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ruth, for that answer. And to the first question you asked in terms of where you can get research experience, I know there are a couple of institutions in Nigeria that you can work with, you can volunteer, and also you can collaboratively volunteer with colleagues or maybe senior colleagues to work on articles or write papers and all that. So if you reach out on Twitter, Sheung or I, you can always maybe provide you further information on how you can go about that. So the next person I will call on is And if you have answered your question, please kindly lower your hand so we know who are left. And Adewumi Razak.
Hi, sir.
Okay, go on with your
Good
question. Make it
evening, good
straight to the
afternoon.
point,
Yeah.
please.
I'm a student of University of Ilorin, and I'm studying surveying and geoinformatics. So I want to ask, you talked about so many options of schooling abroad, and I will consider so many options there. But I want to ask about this application free week. When will it be available? How do I know when it's available? And does it come with waivers and funding?
Okay, the application free weeks for specifically, I will speak for University of Alabama, usually comes during the fall applications. That's sometimes in October, right? So, and if you are following me on Twitter, you always get notification. I will always post about it when it's out. And just follow me on Twitter, Okafor_SC, and you can always get information on that. And for other application free week, we will usually post and retweet different application free weeks for other schools on Twitter and other platforms. So you always get notified when that is out. And yeah, so that's basically my answer to your question. Okay.
Please, can I have your Twitter handle in the chat box?
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that. So
Thank you, sir.
can lower your hand and I will call on Bangboy Michael. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, hello, good evening. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, go on, please.
Okay, thank you so much for this platform, for the privilege. It's been enlightening since I connected. So I have picked a lot of things from almost everybody's spoken. So but I have a question on, because I checked almost all the fundings are basically more of STEM courses, STEM related. Don't we have like scholarship or fundings in the area of business management, like wanting to do your master's in like human resources? Are there options?
Okay, Bisola, please, can you go on and answer that? Thank you.
So I can answer that because before I, came into this research program, I wanted to do something else with my life. And I attempted the GMAT, wanted an MBA. But what I would say for an MBA or a management or human resource kind of program is it's not a research-based program. So they would look out for candidates, yes, with good CGPAs. They would emphasize work experience. And most importantly, they want to see your community-related work. So the point is they don't come with, assistantship offers. They come with scholarships. There are a couple of schools that, not many, but there are a couple of schools that if you have a very good GMAT score, or you even get yourself on the GMAC mailing list, that's the Graduate Management Admission Council's mailing list, you get periodic information about schools with with waivers, schools with MBA programs, and most importantly, you would get funding. I know of Arizona State, for instance, they have this very interesting MBA program, fully funded. So I'm not saying go and apply to Arizona State University alone, no, but I'm saying that there are schools out there. Just get on the mailing list of the GMAC, that's the Graduate Management Admission Council. When you get on their mailing list, begin to prep yourself for the GMATs. It's like, that's the main thing. Once you do very well, your scholarship is almost guaranteed. And of course, they want to see your work experience, even if you don't have many years. What have you done? Well, maybe full-time or part-time work experience, because it's a professional degree. They are not looking for your research experience. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bisola, for that answer. Okay, so I will take more. I think 5 people raising their hands. If you are Bangwe, can you read it? Okay, thank you for that. 4 more people will take question, and I will see if we can take 2 or 3 questions from the people joining us on YouTube. Jola Yemi Yusuf, go on.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, actually, I am undergraduate of Obafemi Awolowo University. I'm a foreign level engineering student. I want to ask a question. How do undergraduates that are not in final year go about publication? And my second question is that, how do I write a good SOP, statement of purpose? And the last question, how do I know if my department has funding for master's degree program? Yes, sir.
Okay, Sheung, do you want to answer that?
Sorry, I missed the question. Yeah, I
Okay,
was
okay,
lost.
let me go on
Yeah,
and
sorry about that.
let me go on and answer that. Okay, Yusuf, based on your question in terms of your 400 level, you want to get research experience per se or publication, you can work collaboratively or volunteer to work with any of your faculties who are doing any research work, or your senior colleague in their final year who are doing any research work. And by so doing, you are gaining research experience. And while it comes to publication, you can, as I said, volunteer with your faculties or professors, help them to do one or two things. If they want to include your name, because it's not usually the norm in Nigeria in that regard, but you can gain research experience by so doing. So that experience can help you while you are writing your SOP. You can state the experience you have gained, the research you have worked on, even if you don't have publication yet. But as you are graduating, of course, you can start working on writing publications. But if you see someone that you can volunteer with to write a paper, that also is what you can do. And in terms of writing your SOP, I think we've emphasized on that here a lot, and I don't want to waste time on that. Connecting the dots is important, understanding which area you want to focus on, what particular research area you want to work on. It don't have to be very clear, but you should have an idea of what you want to do, and your ability to connect your interest, your passion, and your goals together actually helps you to write a good SOP. So I have a video on how you can write SOP on my channel. You can check that out, and hopefully that will give you more insight. So, all right. So the next person I will call on is Emmanuel. Let me just call Emmanuel. So Emmanuel, mute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, good evening and thank you for the opportunity. As the last but one person was saying, most of the people talking today are from, I would say, science background, and I'm a business student with an accounting major. I completed in 2019. I've gotten admission, but with no funding. All of them in accounting field. I would want to know if there are other things I could do to get funding from this institution, because most of the schools I applied to were waiving the GMAT or the GRA for me. I don't know if is that affecting me to get an assistantship from these schools.
Still on that, Bisola, I when it comes to non-STEM, I don't have anything to say, but Bisola, I know it's your area, so go on, please.
So I didn't really get the question, but he said his interest is business, right?
Accounting, he has offers in accounting programs, but he doesn't have funding, and they have waived GMAT for him. What else can he do to get funding opportunities and all that?
I think he needs to increase his options. So this is it. The smart thing is you can come into a research program, right? Which is technically the easiest route. And maybe somewhere, after your first semester or your second semester, or you finish the master's and then you get into what you really want. I have a couple of people who have followed that route, which is you come into a program, for instance, that is research. So let me make this even practical. So within the School of Business, for instance, there are definitely programs with research assistantship, or teaching assistantship options. You can come into a program like that, and after your master's or even if it is even a PhD, you can then, transfer into what you really want to do once you come into the system. This is not something that everyone might be open to, but sometimes if you're so passionate about, no, I want to really do this, you can take what is available. And when you come in, you can then find your footing, because the interesting thing is when you're in the system, you have better advantage than when you're at home and you're like, let me die there, right? Don't be like, okay, for instance, think about what happens back home. A lot of us want to study law. A lot of us want to study medicine, and then the so-called, education system will not give you what you want to study. A lot of people go to study what they don't want, right? And somehow along the line, they end up going back to what they really want to study. As long as you're getting funded, I mean, it's not going to be a waste of your time. You're improving yourself and your brain is still very much active. You don't want that brain to become dull. So coming in and getting what is available might just be that sacrifice that gets you closer to your dream. You are better positioned when you're in the system than when you're back home. So you can go for the option C, even if option Z, even if option A is not available.
Oh, thank you very much, Bisola. I think that answers the question. I will take two more questions, I think, two more questions. If you've answered your question, please lower your hand. I will call on Anthony Williams, Anthony Bafo Williams. Anthony?
Yes, hello.
Yes, ask your question, go on, make it straight.
Hello, good evening. I'm speaking from Ghana here, and I have a very simple question to ask. My question is it easier since finding funding from these scholarships difficult, or they are nearly almost impossible for someone, especially someone who had a second class lower division? Is it easier to at least get a little money, and after you get offers from say university in USA, you are able to pay for your first year and then first year master program, and then when you get into the system, you access a loan, and then, or even if not the loan, you are able to get a job, and then whilst you school, you work, and then you pay. It's easier out there since you are the guys out there, please.
Okay, go on now, Ruth.
Yeah, all right. So about that, that's a very great question, because it's similar to the path that that I'm taking right now. I would say it is best to reach out to whichever school you're applying to before you even make that decision of paying for your first year, however you want to pay for it. Ask questions. Do they have funding opportunities once you enter the program? Because when 2019 didn't work and 2020 didn't work for me, I started reaching out to my admission officer. I started talking to her, what opportunities are there? And she told me, once you can figure out your first year, you have access to lots of opportunities. And I talked to my international student officers as well. So I knew that once the first year is sorted, I'll be okay. So I wouldn't say go blindly. So before you decide on any school, make sure you have enough information on, well, do they have funding for you once you're in the program? If they don't, I wouldn't say just go for it, because even the student loans that you're thinking about, it's not that easy to get. And even when you get a student loan, do you plan to stay in the US for a long time? How do you plan to start paying back these loans? That's also another question to ask yourself. It's not, so it sounds like an easy option, but it's really not. It's really not. So you want to make sure that whatever school it is you want to apply to, get enough information. Do they have funding opportunities for you as an international student once you enter the program? If they don't, it's a little tricky. I wouldn't advise going into it. Just be sure, get your information and facts right. And then once you do that, you can go ahead.
Bisola, go on.
It's just a quick hack, because I know we've spent more than enough time. And the hack is, you can actually come into school to do a research program. Remember that if it is a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship, you get paid, right? I want responses. You get paid, right? So when you get paid, you can save more than enough. You can save more than enough, right? And begin to position yourself. I'm not saying that the money is so much. Yes, it might not be what you really want, right? But again, if that is one thing that would save you from, paying, going the loan routes, you can save good money. And at the end of the day, maybe for the first 2 semesters of that, professional program, you then have resources to pay for it. I don't know if that makes sense. It might not look like it's so easy an option, but if it is something you're open to doing, it is better than just jumping into the ocean when you don't even have a life jacket.
Yeah, sorry, just to correct this, your stipend will not be enough for you to pay your tuition, just to correct that. So, yeah.
So let me correct something. I'm not saying that it will be enough to pay the
Oh,
tuition.
okay.
So
Yeah.
I have someone who is planning to change, from a traditional research program into a professional program, right? So it's not like this person is paying the entire school fee, but there's a system in that school that allows the person to be able to pay on a semester basis. So you need to look at the options out there. And when I was making the point, I was very specific by saying you need to, of course, know what the figure is. When you know what the numbers are, you know whether this is a risk worth taking or not. And depending on where you're schooling, I'm being very careful here. If you have an assistantship offer that, yes, it's not big money, it takes a lot of discipline to say you then want to, save up a good amount that would help you defray a semester or two. I mean, that's a good place to start. It's not like it will take care of everything.
All right, thank you for that. So that people don't think like we collect a lot of money here. All right, so yeah, I just wanted to add this because this issue of funding is very important. I had a friend, he's currently in Canada doing his PhD, but while he was doing his master's here in IT, you know, so this is how they work. This is how it works. The model works. They give you guys admission, and after giving you guys admission, then you apply for assistantship. So he was able to get his teaching assistantship, and even the money he was getting for his teaching assistantship, he was just going by. I mean, like pay for your accommodation, eat, and But during the summer, it becomes a problem for him because they don't get paid in the summer, so he has to do. Yeah, I don't want to say this on YouTube because on YouTube, but you guys understand what I mean. So he has to do so, in order to, yeah. So just like what Miriam is saying, please be sure of what you want to do. So if you're sure that this is something you want to commit financially to, be sure about it, be 100% sure about it. Because I don't always encourage people to come here if they are not fully funded because the stress is too much. But if it's a stress that you are willing to go through, yeah, be ready. Emotionally, mentally, be ready for it. So that's where I'm just going to stop here.
Thank you very much. I will spend a lot of time, so I want us to round up in 10 or 15 minutes. Fire Breeze, that's your name. Ask your question in less than 1 minute. Okay, Fire Breeze, you're not there. Victor, go on and ask your question, please.
All right. Thank you very much for this section. In fact, I really gained a lot. So my question is this. I finished my undergraduate program 2016, and I'm just trying to apply for my master's direct PhD. Would that affect my chance of getting funding? That's my first question. And my second question is, you have a particular professor you're interested in working with, and you've been sending cold emails, and you didn't get any response. So what should you do in that situation? Thank you very much.
Sheung, go on. Can you answer that?
All right, so in terms of cold email, I think I made a thread sometimes ago, why sometimes people don't receive response from prospective advisor. So there are several reasons, there are several factors that might be responsible. One of these are your cold email might not be, how will I call it, might not be stimulating enough. Then secondly, one of the things that might happen is that on the average, my own advisor receives about 50 emails every day. So if your email does not come in at the right time, sometimes it piles up on the pile, and if it is not interesting, it's not going to be seen. As a graduate student, I always take that. I'm a graduate student, and the number of emails I respond to per day, I can, I'm sure somebody can also speak to this. So sometimes, because I don't want to miss out any email, I always look at it one by one. I'll be scrolling through one by one. But not everybody has that kind of patience. So sometimes the advisor might miss your email. It's not because your email was not good. Then third factor that might be responsible is that they might have given another person a go ahead and they don't want to commit to someone else. So what I always tell people is that send a reminder to the person. And if you still don't get any response, move to the next person. There are a lot of faculty here. I saw a particular, I don't know if if Sunday saw it yesterday. I saw a particular post. This person is literally begging for students. He said he has money, but no one is reaching out to him. I saw it on Twitter yesterday. I was surprised. He said he has money. You saw it on. He said he has money, but nobody is reaching out to him. And it was like, is he the only one going through this situation? So please, I always tell people, just like that scripture, Ecclesiastes, it said, cast your nets, cast your bread upon many waters. Just keep sending code email. Victor was saying something about he always send his own code email. Three every day. You can do that. Yeah, just have a rundown, have like an Excel spreadsheet. Write the potential advisors you can reach to in every of the university that you can apply to based on your the admission requirements. Start working on those ones. Then always time your emails. Check the school you are sending an email to. Look at the local time. So you want to send your email maybe 8 o'clock in the morning when they are just resuming, so that your email is at the top. So you don't want to send it 2 a.m. I know that time might be a constraint. So for example, I can't be in Nigeria around 6 p.m. and I'm sending an email around that time. It's gonna land in the person's email in midnight, and some other emails might have come around in the morning. So be strategic about it. Wake up very early in the morning, time your email and send it. I think Gmail does this, in which you can write a schedule of when you want your email to go out. So you can schedule your email that way. Yeah. Right. I don't know if someone else has something else to add to that.
I think you've answered the question perfectly. I don't think there's anything else to add to that. 2 more questions here and we wrap up. Abel, I can't
Are you taking questions from YouTube as well?
Yes, I'll take 2 questions from you. I've told them already that I'll take questions. To be honest, Shoma has almost answered all the questions there, so I appreciate that. Abel, can you ask your question?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Please, I'm Abel. I'm speaking from Ghana. I read communication studies. I specialize in public relations and also speak French before learning the English. Yeah, that was Friday. I applied for one of these schools and they called me yesterday to confirm if I was the one who applied, and I said yes. And they explained the scholarship to me by saying that it is 80%, the school fees is 80% covered by the university, and then I'll pay 20%. And he mentioned the amount to me, which was 26,000 Ghanaian cedis. So he was asking me how am I supposed to pay, and I was asking them their payments schedule, and he didn't say anything. He said he'll get back to me on WhatsApp. So I was a bit confused since the person didn't give me enough information about the scholarship, and then he just said he'll continue. So no, he didn't have any information from them. So like I want to put that one in front of you, and then
Abel, your question is not clear because you are providing us with a lot of information we can't digest. Can you just ask your question in 1 or 2 sentences? Thank you.
Yeah, so what I want to know is like, maybe is it a legit, like, how will I say? Is it, can I show something like that when, let's say I apply, the person called me and then start mentioning the amount to pay and other this thing? Is it something that is credible? That's the word. Is it something credible in this situation? Because if you still online thing and then you don't know which is fake. So that's why that was a big loss.
Okay, Bisola, go on.
I've had that. I've had a similar experience when, a school was talking to me on WhatsApp. Schools will not talk to you on WhatsApp. Just know that they will not talk to you on WhatsApp. They will not call you. Well, maybe they might, but at what point are they calling you? And usually the only kind of call you get is, you don't even get calls, you get emails. I don't know if there's anyone who can talk about the call or email parts. They will not call you. They will not WhatsApp you. Email is the way they would communicate with you. So if there's anybody calling you and saying they have given you funding, they are making you excited. So you feel that, they are doing me a favor. They have paid 80%. So it's 20 that I need to raise. And then you then pay money into some random account. I was almost going to pay money. So please don't be a victim of such. In fact, they might even tell you that you have been admitted to Harvard, that you did not apply to. They'll now send you one admission letter and tell you that you have qualified for one Harvard scholarship. You just need to pay, small token. Look for fully funded. And when you, just like others have said, when you spread your, like apply to several places. I always tell people there's this 100 versus 10% rule that I always teach people. Imagine that you are applying to 100 schools. Think like you're a business person. When you're trying to close sales, you're prospecting, you talk to 100. It is not 100 that will buy. It is only the 10% of the 100. So when you're reaching out to schools, think in that line. I'm sending out 100 applications, assuming, or I'm code emailing 100 schools, or I'm researching about 100 schools. At the end of the day, you would have 10 quality schools or programs. So please don't fall victim of that. I know how stressful this process can be. And that is why, so the Okafor's channel is there to console you and make you happy. The therapy is there on this channel, right? Because it's a lonely path. I know this for sure. And even after getting funding, it doesn't end there. So you need to be around people. Let it not be that, I came to this session, I'm fired up, and that's it. They say faith cometh by hearing, and hearing, it is continuous tense. It is not past tense. Present continuous. You need to keep doing this, and you need to be around the people who will, help you out. So please don't ever be pushed to that point where you think that you need to pay money. You deserve everything good. You deserve all the fully funded out there. You deserve all the scholarships out there. Go secure the bag because it's your inheritance. You've worked so hard, you've studied so hard, done so many things. Why should you doubt yourself? Why should you let someone make you feel that you can't get it? I want to start doing motivational talk now. I'm just so.
It's good. Motivational talk is good at this point.
Please
we need it.
Please let him go ahead and reach out to the graduate coordinator of the school that he applied to and get genuine information from them. We should countenance that information from those people.
No school in USA will call you. I know that for sure. Email is the formal way of communicating. And be sure that the email is coming from the school. You need to check, when you are sent an email, there is a drop-down arrow that you can click on to see the full email address. They can have the graduate school or social school as the name, but if you check the full email address, you might see that it's a Gmail account. So you have to also avoid phishing. It happens a lot. So,
that's true.
And if you are not sure, reach out to the graduate school coordinator or program coordinator in your department to get authentic information.
It's even rare for universities in the United States to ask you to pay money before coming. Most of them are flexible. They are not in a hurry to get your money. You don't want to get your money. So once the email looks too good to be true, please, or the call looks too good to be true, run. It might be some SOG that wants to collect your money. Yeah.
Hello, please. Is
Okay,
it a full payment for the first year? Sorry.
Abel, I think your question is answered already. I will call on Faith. Faith, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? And that was the last question we'll be taking on Zoom. Then I will take a couple of questions from YouTube, and that will be rounding up. Faith, are you still there? Okay, Faith is not there. Okay, since Faith is not around, Prince, okay, no, Prince is no more as a question. All right, Faith, do you still want to ask your question?
Yes, good evening.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this session. I really learned a lot, but I'm asking on behalf of a friend who can't be here because of very bad network. So she studied industrial chemistry in undergraduate, but she wants to switch over to media communication. And that switch is like very wide. It's like from science to arts, basically. So she's trying to ask how she can go about it and how she can also get funding for that program. Thank you.
Okay, Sheung, I know you have something.
I mean, the way I was just looking at Toby, the way he was surprised. I mean, I don't know if there's a strong motivation to do that. Yeah, it might work, but not all. I mean, it's even easy for STEM to move to non-STEM and get funding, unlike non-STEM moving to STEM to get funding. But yeah, I have one experience. Someone just reached out to me. She did microbiology, and because she has been involved in sports journalism for a while now, she actually got an admission for a program that is in the area of sports journalism. Now because there's an experience that she is lacking, she couldn't get funding. So that's always a problem. Sometimes if you don't have the core experience in that, even if it is non-STEM or STEM, if you don't have the core experience that they need, especially because, remember what Sunday started with, teaching assistantship, graduate assistant, research assistantship, can you teach in that area that you're going to? Because you're changing field. You don't even have the experience prior to this time. So how can you teach an undergraduate, in this new field? So that might be a problem because they want to justify why they have to give you funding, and one of the ways they give you funding is assistantship. Except the person sees scholarship, but changing fields and getting funded, I mean, especially if the fields are totally unrelated, it's always difficult in the United States.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Sunday, let me just quickly add a little thing to that. What Mr. Sean said. Is it at the postgraduate level the person wants to change, or at the undergraduate level? If it's undergraduate, well, it might still be permissible like that. But if it's at the postgraduate level, it cannot even happen because you don't have the person does not have a foundation. So if that foundation is not there, there's really nothing the person can do. So the person has to go and start actually from the beginning, so before the person can be able to get into those postgraduate understanding. So
yeah, except the person has money to pay, they will take it, but to fund you, it's extremely difficult. I can say it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all we take here. And I know most of us we are exhausted. We spend a lot of time here. And I want to take a few questions on YouTube and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, someone is asking about MRES and MSc, Master of Research and Master of Science. If you are applying for PhD program, whether you have Master of Science or Master of Research, it doesn't make much difference. You're still going to be considered for funding. Master of Research means that you did more research work in your master's. Master of Science, we don't do much research, probably just write your thesis or dissertation or as the name may be. So for me, I had Master of Science and I applied to PhD with it and I got it. In terms of, also we said you don't need to have master's, you can use your BSc to apply directly for a PhD program in the US, in the STEM or the non-STEM, whichever field you are interested in. And someone else is asking, when does the admission comes with funding, or you get funding after, or you apply for funding afterward? So I said that earlier on when we started that some department or some programs will not give you admission if they're not going to give you funding. They will state it, like here in the University of Alabama, like Department of Political Science PhD program, they won't admit you if they don't have funding to give to you. So that is another aspect. There's another aspect where they will give you an offer and then send you a form to fill if you are interested to be considered for graduate assistantship, probably teaching assistantship. And there's another one where they will give you an offer. They won't send you any form to fill to apply for anything. They will consider you automatically for funding. You can get offer without funding in such cases, but if they are going to give you offer, they will send it to you. Probably it might come with your admission, or it will come some weeks after getting your admission. So the funding offer will come afterward. So that's the question. And someone is asking, can I send multiple code email to faculties in the same department? I think that is very possible, right? You can, any other person can have different opinion, but for me, I think you can actually do it.
I mean, like send code emails to multiple people in the department?
Like 2 or 3 faculties in the same department.
Yeah, one has to be careful with that, because these guys talk. So
Yeah.
they don't want to, once you show desperation, it's a problem. So for example, you don't want to send it to them maybe at the same time. Maybe you reach out to this person and the person told you, I'm not. Yeah. But and it becomes a problem if the fields of the people you are sending it to, they are not even related. And because they talk a lot, they will know that you are just desperate you don't even know what you're doing. So you don't want to show desperation. And I said that you don't want to show that you are not sure of what you want to do. So make sure that when you're sending mails to multiple people in the same department, make sure their fields are almost aligned in your.
Yeah, so I had that issue. I had that issue in Alabama, right? So I reached out to 2 different faculties. Yes, they are doing something that is a bit similar, but they have different model organisms that they are using to answer similar questions. So I reached out to the first person, and the first person we got talking and all of that. While the second person replied to my mail that, and person also started showing interest, I needed to inform her that I've already spoken with another faculty member. So we just, because immediately I mentioned that, she sent me a mail back that I should not worry, she's not trying to steal me from a colleague. And so I now later remember, got to understand when I got here that both of them started talking, and probably something, maybe they worked out something, and I ended in the lab of one of the, it's always, so they talk, like he said, these guys, they talk. And if you show a kind of unfaithfulness or something, they won't mind even taking a neutral person, because it can create a lot of problems. So we must be very, very careful as the way we send code emails. As much as possible, we want to send it to many people, but probably if we are sending mails and people are not responding, we can start trying other places or other people. But please, let's just be careful.
Okay, thank you very much. Someone is asking, how do some of these professors, they don't have a lab, website where they can get information about them. I've made a video on how to search and send code emails to professors. If you check my channel, you see. So basically, you don't need to go to find their website or something. By mere going to their name on the school website, on the department website, click on their name. You always see their research interests, some description of what they do there. And you can also find out their publication. You see a list of their publications. You can go to Google Scholar, search for those papers, read about it, have an understanding of their recent research works. I think that's how you can go on about that. And okay, so someone else is asking if is it good to apply directly to multiple schools in the US without sending code email? Code email is an option. And there are some programs that even stated that you don't need to reach out to any faculties. You don't need to reach out to any faculty to get admitted. Like here in University of Alabama, like for instance, mathematics, you don't even need to reach out to any faculty because you are not going to do any research work for the first 3 years. You are just doing coursework, doing teaching assistantship. Is after towards the end of your third year that you are going to start, they will start working you with a faculty that will, so in that case, you don't need to reach out to any faculty. And also like for political science, I have my roommate here got 6 different offers from 6 different schools in political science here in the US. And he accepted University of Alabama. He didn't contact any professor prior to that. He just submitted his application and everything. He can reach out to graduate coordinator to ask about what type of funding they have and all those stuff. But in some cases, reaching out to faculties is usually common in STEM related programs because it's research based. They do a lot of research work. You want to know which show interest in their research and all that, but it's not a must do. It's not a must do. So that is what I would say.
I mean, just to add to what Sunday said, so if the program is a lab rotation based, you don't need to reach out to, a potential advisor, because you're still going to do maybe 2 semesters before you now decide on which lab you're going to join. So make sure you check the program. I mean, always check the program website. We're just giving you guys information that is on the average works for majority of the schools, but they are not the entirety. So check the program website. Some programs will tell that reaching out to a potential advisor is not necessary, but if you want to do that, do that. So always check those things. Then the lab rotation based course program, especially this PhD biomedical sciences, you don't need to reach out to any supervisor. Make sure your CGPA is good. Make sure you have enough research experience. Submit a very good scholarship portfolio, and you're set to go.
Thank you very much, Sean, for that addition. And finally, on YouTube, someone is asking, how long do I have to wait to send another email to another faculty if the first one does not respond to my email? So I'll answer that in 2 phases. If you send an email to a faculty and you didn't get a response, you can always send a reminder email, like say a week, 2 weeks after. You can send a reminder email. If you still don't get a response, and be careful of the time zone difference, as we have highlighted here. Make sure you're sending it at the right time. If you didn't get a response, just move on. Send to another person. If it is in the same department, I would say you shouldn't send to the same 2 different faculties at the same time. You can go one after the other, and make sure you are sending those emails to related faculties, not a person in totally different field. It shows desperation in that regard, because if you are sending someone that is doing STEM biology and you are sending to another person that is doing animal science or something in the same department, then it looks like you don't even have direction, So, but if you don't get a response, you can always send a reminder like 2 weeks after. And if you don't still get a response, just move on. Or you can send emails to multiple faculty in different universities. There's no limits. I had someone recently said he sent 500 emails, code emails and all that. So you just spread your tentacles. Don't limit yourself to one school. Go be broad in your approach, and you get what you are looking for at the end. So that's where we.
Sunday, can I say something?
Yes, go on, please. I will go.
I don't know if anybody has mentioned it, but somebody came to tell me that he's been sending a lot of cold emails and he hasn't gotten responses, and then he sent me a screenshot. And okay, I don't have a problem with you doing a copy and paste because you're sending to different schools. It's possible, but you're sending a cold email and you're not attaching anything to it. If this person just reads about 15 lines of your supposed cold email, they'll close it because you're not giving them any evidence to back up the things that you say that you're interested in or what you want to do. So there's no CV, there's no transcripts, there's no I don't even think you possibly need a statement of purpose yet, but if you have it, you can attach it. So I think sometimes if you do not get response to your cold emails, you probably do not have some files or some documents attached to back up your interests. I think so. So yeah.
And yes, to add to that is if you can, most times it's good to attach a link, maybe to a Google document that they can look for your CV. Don't attach the file directly because it might have some virus and they don't want to open it in their system. So if you can put a link, they can just click that can direct them to your profile, or for instance, they can look at your CV and all that. That also works. And someone was talking about research portfolio. One of my friends was talking about research portfolio, that's what got him funding into University of Alabama. He attached, like in his SOP, instead of writing, I did this research, I did that, you can have like a portfolio where you have listed all the works you did and you just include a link that can be clickable link on PDF, this PDF file that you're submitting, that once they click on it, it will take them to a page where they can see all the works you have done, your publication and everything. And that's, in that case, it can help you to reduce the number of words you have to write in your SOP and make it concise. Okay, that is it. And on this note, I think we've taken a lot of time, we've spent time. So I will give 1 minute each to my speakers to just give us a final conclusion or something, whatever they want to tell the participants, maybe encouragement, motivation, and all that is welcome. So I will go with Abigail. Abigail, can you go on and just give us your...
Okay, I totally enjoyed being in this session, to be honest. There were some things that I even heard that I did not know about and that I jotted down for like personal use. So this is not just for people that are not here. So I think it was really beneficial to me. And yeah, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Sunday, for this opportunity.
All right. Sheung, can you go on? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm so happy I met a lot of beautiful people here. I mean, the other panelists, and we were able to listen to different questions. And just like what Mr. Toby was saying the other time, information is very important. Information is power. I think I was just thinking about my life sometimes ago that I might have maybe left this current position I am if I was exposed to the information I'm sharing with people today, just some years ago. So information can actually shorten your journey. And one thing I'm going to tell you is that, be willing to work. If you're not willing to work, I remember those days, I mean, it was easy for me because I was working in a university. So some people might say maybe I was privileged, but regardless, I saw people who didn't have enough, but they went out of their way to make this thing happen for themselves. So be willing to work, be willing to do the work, be willing to go out, search for the information yourself, don't wait till you are spoon-fed. Some people like that. Every question they will ask people. I mean, until you don't understand the question, that's when you should ask. Basic questions, general questions, you shouldn't be asking people. Go out there, use your Google. I don't know what people, most of the time we spend a lot of time on Instagram, burning our MB when we can be on Google. I mean, every information we're sharing here, there are things from our own personal experience and things we've actually researched. Am I correct? That's how it works. So please go on Google, ask that question. PhD in biomedical science in the United States is going to give you a lot of search results. And you can know the schools you can apply to. And you can even find the application deadlines. Stop asking questions like, when is the deadline for US admission? Those are basic questions that you should have answers to. Please do your research, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Bisola Miriam, can you please?
Okay, I'll say two things. One, it's easier to come for a session, consume information, but it's more difficult to get the work done. And if there is, I would be the happiest person on earth if at least one person here would, go ahead and make this work. You know what you're doing. If you go ahead and do that, you're going to be giving people in your space the permission to do the same. Because there are people in your family right now, or there are people who are yet to be born in your family, in your lineage, who, because you take that step, will say thank you. Now, think about Kamala Harris. Think about so many people who have made marks even in the States. Many of them came in as international students. So you coming in as an international student is just one step in the greatness or in that future that God is preparing for you. If there is only one person who will take that step, I mean, I'll be the happiest person on earth. And don't leave a community. You need a support system. If you would make it, like I am going through certain things in my life, that the YouTube, I have a number of channels on my playlist. I wake up every day, I listen to those sessions. Before I go to bed, I listen to those sessions. Your life cannot change if all you do is just there, doing social media charade, and you're not intentional about the things that will take you to where you're going. You have this journey, right? How about you change the people you're following right now and begin to follow the people that when you wake up and see their timeline, your head will spark and say, no, I'm done sitting on the spots. So, I mean, align your content with the goal you're pursuing in the next 1 year. I have some financial goals. I am following those who will take me to the $10,000 figure that I want to reach. So begin to align yourself with the people who would help you get to where you're going. And lastly, don't come in with your brain alone and think everything is about book. Learn a skill. Learn a skill. There are many women here who will pay a lot of money just to weave their all back lesson, just to do all back. Learn a skill. I can go on my knees on this one. Learn a skill. Whether it's digital, whether it's a virtual skill, learn a skill. I mean, I can stress this from now till tomorrow. Learn a skill. Social skill is skill. Digital skill is skill. Whatever, learn something that will make you outstanding. I beg you in the name of God. And don't just be a consumer, do something. I mean, I'm sure Sunday Okafor will be happy if someone next year says, by this time, and then you are tagging Sunday Okafor that I have won a fully funded scholarship because I attended the session. At least one soul.
Thank you very much, Bisola, for that. Shoma, please, can you go on in a nutshell? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. I think Mr. Shimwa and Mrs. Bisola said most of the things, and yeah, it's we all took like 1 year, 2 years of preparation to be where we are, and yeah, we are also like telling the stories in 10 minutes, and it's not enough. We only gave vital information, and there are also stories that it won't even be enough. 1 hour will not be enough to start telling the information, and it is a very good thing that we are able to share such vital information, but it doesn't end there. Like, you also have to put in the good work. You also have to work. You would have my own story and my experience. You shouldn't be the same thing or exactly the way yours should also appear. You have to like find your journey, know what works for you. You have to know yourself too, and it's never an icing in the cake. Even as I have landed a fully funded scholarship, there are some days I wake up and I tell God, is this what I signed up for? Because back to back, there are back to back, there are a lot of things that are going on, and I'm like, no, I did not sign up for this. I'm killing myself over this. So even when you land the scholarship, it doesn't end there. It is your passion that keeps you going. It is because you signed up for this thing that keeps you going. And so no matter what comes your way, you are ready to like push through and all of that. And I hope that this is enough, or that this would be enough. And I'm also ready. I'm also like open for other questions. Like, if you need, you can reach out to Sunday. I'll give you my email address, and yeah, you can always send out more questions regarding my program, or if you want to know that personal information. So I'll be really glad to help. And also, association also matters. You need to be in a community of people that are also in that same journey with you. You don't want to go through it alone, because when your back is against the wall, another person is pushing you and telling you we have to go together. But you have to be in an association of trusted people that are also like channeling towards graduate school and all. Like, I cannot overemphasize that. Like, it really helps. It matters also. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shoma. That was wonderful. Toby, please, quickly, if you can, 2 minutes or less.
What I would just say is that please get an accountability partner. Get somebody that you are going to be accountable to. Stand on the shoulders of giants. Our brothers and sisters, they have said a lot of things. Please endeavor to do that. And last thing, please depend on the grace of God. It's only God that can give all of these things.
Thank you.
It's not all about, your prowess and all of that. But please, let's also depend on the grace of God. Let's pray. It's only God that can do all of these things, for him to direct all our paths. And I trust that we all meet ourselves at the top in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much, Toby. Victor, 1 minute or less. I know you don't talk too much. So.
Yeah, so I think the major thing I learned a lot from the session, and thank you for the session. I think the major thing I'll just say is that there's a scholarship for everyone. It just matters on how deep you dig, or how deep you dig rather. So after the whole session and inspiration today, I feel everyone should go back, open an Excel sheet or a Microsoft Word document, put in the work, list the school, check the department. This is the requirement. This is what I need. This is the professor I want to mail. This is what they require. This is what I have. This is how I meet it. Be intentional about it. You can have a spreadsheet of maybe 30 schools and just one after the other, the exact GPA they want, write it there. Do they have an assistantship? Yes. Do I need to apply for assistantship after application? Yes or no? Do they require GRE? Yes. Do they require TOEFL? What score? Write it there. So you have like the information on that and you align what you have with whatever is there. Just be intentional about what you're doing. This is the list of professors I want to email. This is the ones I've emailed. This is positive or negative response. This is the research I want to do. Just have those information and just dig deep. I feel there's a scholarship for everyone. It might not be necessary. You might study accounting English. It might not be in accounting department or in this. I studied English. When I was applying, I applied for linguistics because it is related and I got it. English, your field might have some specifications that is not just like the broader one where, okay, masters in Greek, masters in this. So just dig deep and look for those aspects. It's not necessarily the broader aspect of your field. It could just be the most specific, like the tiniest details of your field that has the scholarship. So it just depends on how well you dig deep. So I think that's all for now.
Thank you very much, Victor. Okay, Ruth, can you go on?
All right. I just want to share this from personal experience. Like the people who are getting the funding, the people who are getting the scholarship, they're not necessarily the best and brightest. But the difference is that they are consistent. They do not give up on their dreams and goals. So you have people here that you guys are very smart and you might not even be the best in your class, really. You might not be the best, but you know the goal that you want to achieve, right? So just staying consistent to that and not being afraid to ask questions when you have questions, because you have people that they will not get opportunity because they are shy because they never ask. So ask questions and be consistent. You know what your goal, if it helps, write out your goal, write in a place where you always eat every morning. So you know that this is something that you want to achieve and just stay consistent. And finally, for me, I didn't have to apply to so many schools because with my relationship with God, it was just like he told me where to apply to. And even though it felt like it wasn't going to work out, it worked out eventually. So if you're a person of faith and you know how God works with you, let that, even use that to your advantage, even as you're making this life decision, right? If God is telling you all you have to do is apply to 10 schools, don't because someone else is applying to 100 schools, you want to apply to 100 schools as well. Just follow instructions and live your life according to God's instruction, like I said, if you're a person of faith. So just once again, in summary, consistency, don't give up on your goals. And as a person of faith, always listen to that, divine instructions and run with it.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate all the scholars for their contribution for today. And very key important is consistency. It's one thing to come to this type of event and get fired up. And after it, you just feel like, oh, the fire is out, and that's the essence of having a community also, as we all emphasize on, having a community of like-minded people. When I was applying, I have people that are also pursuing the same goal with me. We always talk about how is the application going, what are you doing, what is the loopholes, what are the, what are the challenges you are facing. We share it together, we encourage each other together. And here we are today. Okay, so that is very, very key. Be consistent, be intentional in your pursuit, and definitely there is a scholarship for you. You might not start from US. You might first have to go to UK. You might first have to go to China. You might first have to go to Korea or any part of the world, then eventually, or Canada, anywhere. Most of us then come directly to US. We detour to other parts of the world and find ourselves here. But it is possible. That's just it. Whatever you put your mind to do and you are committed to it, it is very possible. My own personal experience, just like starting this YouTube channel, I decided that one day I want to do it. It was just a day decision, and I started it, and today here we are. And this event, I didn't envisage this event 6 months ago when I started this channel. But here, privileged to have great minds like you guys, speaking on this platform is a great honor, it's a pleasure. And so that is it in everything you want to do in life, outside academic, in personal life, personal goals. You just have to be committed to, you have to pay the price necessary to attain it. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone that is on this call. Thank you to my wonderful guest speakers. You guys are wonderful. You guys are so good. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to appreciate you. Shehu, thank you for your time. I know you're a very busy guy. Arsenal is playing today. I can't watch Arsenal match because of this call. And Ruth, thank you very much. I know you're a busy lady. You have a lot of works to do. And Shioma, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Victor, thank you. We'll talk after this. We are together. And Bisola Marian, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We had a lot of fun last night, and we were able to still make this call today. And Toby, I really appreciate your time. You have to leave Madam and at home, this time, and you are here for like 3 hours. There's a lot of sacrifice from your side. And also, Abigail is out of the call. She told me she's going out. And I appreciate everyone that spoke on this call. The participants, thank you very much for waiting. Those of you that waited to the end, there's a lot of sacrifice also from your own side. And I didn't take that for granted. Thank you for the support. It's one thing to plan for event, and it's one thing for people to show up. And also, even though we had a breach in the link for this meeting, still we have people that quickly joined this call. And I really appreciate everyone, both on YouTube, those that watch it, and those that are going to watch this event after now. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you. And that is where we'll be wrapping it up for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.
To meet you all. Yeah, bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Mr. Sean, we should connect. We should connect.
Thank you very much.
It seems that we are doing something that.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Mr. Fijabi. I think your WhatsApp is here. I'm going to save it now.
All right.
And text you immediately.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll be expecting.
I beg, someone never cut this call.
No. Everyone will leave. I'll be the last person to leave. That's the etiquette of Zoom call. The host should be the last to leave the call.
And
normally.
Also, I'm going to share the video with you once.
Yes, you can send it to the link to my email.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, thank you very much for being my co-host. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Feature B. All right.
Yeah.
234. So I can use any of my number. I still use MTN number.
No problem.
7515
6932.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Shehu. Thank you. Thank you, Toby. Yeah. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Ebenezer Ebu. Thank you for joining the call.
Good morning.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate
I'm glad. I'm glad for what you guys are doing. I invited a lot of guys into this. I also went through the same process you guys are doing.
Wow.
And I was fortunate to be in the military here, US Army and all of that. So now I don't have to use scholarship anymore. The Department of Veterans Affairs, they're paying for my schooling now and all of that. So there's a whole lot, and I'm glad that you guys are doing a wonderful stuff. We're actually hosting a party here, so I'm trying to put up the trying to put up the party stuff for my people.